What nonsense are they talking about? Warm up. This arena is about to be dismantled by you, but you said it was a warm-up. Are you kidding me? God, didn't they really use the experience? How strong are they? This is too scary. Isn't that their limit? There was a lot of discussion in the stands, and they were shocked by what they just heard. The stronger the strength, the more shocked. It's already at this level, is it just a warm-up level? Raikage's eyes widened in shock. To be honest, he can also show all kinds of battle marks on the field. But he is Raikage. The following two people are just 7-year-old boys. If he equates the dignified Raikage with the two 7-year-old boys, doesn't that mean that the following two people already have cage-level strength? How can this be accepted by I? Even if I stayed, it was to find out Naruto's true strength. Ki has never felt that Naruto is stronger than himself. But now, reality seemed to slap him hard. If Naruto and Sasuke are really just warming up as they say now. What shocked Raikage even more was that Sasuke, whom he was not optimistic about, actually seemed to be on the same level as Naruto. Also reached the level of cage level. When did it become so easy to create a super strong? They have cultivated to this point, and they don't know how much hard work they have put in and how long it took them. But Naruto and Sasuke, two teenagers who are only 7 years old, can't practice for more than 3 years. The result has reached cage level? This is an unacceptable result for any ninja. However, whether Raikage or others accept it or not, Naruto and Sasuke's strength will not fluctuate because of their senses. On the field, Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other across the huge pit. Sasuke's eyes have changed into the Mangekyo Sharingan of the six-pointed star. Naruto smiled and said, "If it's just Mangekyo Sharingan, you won't be so arrogant as to challenge me, Sasuke. So, you have acquired a stronger power, the stronger power hidden in Mangekyo." Although the tone was speculative, Naruto's expression was very determined. Sasuke is not surprised, even though he has been training Susanoo under the secret training of his father Fugaku, but Naruto knows the existence of Susanoo. Sasuke is not surprised at all. "Yes, it's called Susanoo," Sasuke also said indifferently. "Today, I will let everyone witness that I, Uchiha Sasuke, am the most talented and powerful ninja." "Of course I know it's called Susanoo," Naruto whispered, but his voice was so soft that no one could hear him. Hearing this, the three people who also owned Mangekyo Sharingan frowned. Obito, Kakashi and Itachi. Kakashi looked puzzled. "Susanoo? What's that?" Kakashi is completely unaware of any hidden abilities that Mangekyo Sharingan has. Kakashi is not of the Uchiha clan after all. It is impossible for him to have access to the true secrets of the Uchiha clan. Obito looked at Sasuke with a serious face. Obito knew Susanoo, who had seen the content of the steel buried under the Uchiha shrine under the leadership of Ju. Therefore, Obito deeply understands that Sasuke's strength is much stronger than he expected. After all, Obito, who only has one eye, cannot use Susanoo at all. And the weasel, making trouble for the king. Under the special guidance of Black Zetsu, he also saw the content of the tampered steel and knew the power of Susanoo. But now Itachi has only just mastered Susanoo. It took him months. But Sasuke has just awakened Mangekyo, but he has already learned Susanoo? This is impossible. But no matter what they think in their hearts, Sasuke doesn't care. Sasuke is thinking very simply now. Use all your strength to defeat Naruto and prove that he is the strongest genius in the world. With the crazy stimulation of pupil power, Purple's chakra skeleton appeared around Sasuke. The skeleton is very huge, it looks like a titan's skeleton. Afterwards, the muscles and muscles covered the bones, which looked extremely hideous. Then came the burly armor. In a short time, an incomparably huge purple titan appeared in the field. The height exceeds 100 meters, and the exact amount cannot be calculated at a glance. But compared to the height of the stadium, it is too high. All the spectators gradually changed from looking down on the arena to looking up, watching the sudden appearance of the purple titan, and fell into deep shock and panic. What kind of monster is this? This is really the strength that a 7-year-old boy can possess. Don't be kidding. Could it be that the warm-up they talk about is really just a warm-up? This horse riding is too exaggerated. It's like a hill. Who can beat this? Impossible to win. Facing this kind of monster, how to win? How could such a terrifying existence appear? Countless spectators ran around in panic, they were completely terrified. I'm afraid that if the titan moves a little, it will break the wall of the arena and make them fall from a height. They are not ninjas, they will definitely die if they fall from a height of 20 or 30 meters. Some people even covered their heads with their hands in shock, looking at the full body of Susanoo in disbelief. The shock that this brought them was too terrifying. Reikage's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. What the hell is this? A power that a brat can display. Stop King kidding me. The third generation was also shocked, he didn't know the existence of Susanoo before. After all, never seen. Moreover, this power is still in the hands of the Uchiha family, which is not good news for third generation, which has a tense relationship with the Uchiha family. Fortunately, third generation went to see Naruto's state for the first time, and found that Naruto was very calm and seemed confident, so he relaxed. Hearing the shocking words blurted out by third generation leaned against the back of the chair, tried not to look panicked, and said in a steady voice. It's nothing, it's just a very hard-working child from the Uchiha family. He has been studying with Naruto all the time. He is the most talented student in this class except Naruto. It's just a student now, and it will definitely become stronger and stronger in the future. These words immediately made the corners of Yinyamu and Luo Sha's mouths twitch. Listen, is this a human language? Isn't this King murderous? Are you okay to say nothing? What else will become stronger and stronger in the future? Believe it or not, Laozi sent someone to assassinate him today. However, the three of them just thought about it in their hearts. At this time, the strength displayed by Sasuke simply made them despair. Although they don't know what Susanoo is, but just looking at this appearance, they know that it is definitely not the easy person. The Chakra Titan, which is hundreds of meters high, it's really scary. The key is that the person who used this ability was only a 7-year-old boy. After 10 years, they didn't even dare to imagine how this young man would grow. Correct. What will Naruto do in the face of this opponent? The three of them were startled, and immediately lowered their heads to look at Naruto. As a result, Naruto raised his head and looked at it leisurely, looking completely innocent. This immediately gave them a bad feeling. Could Naruto still be able to fight against this incredible existence? Although it felt impossible in their hearts, they still widened their eyes, wanting to see how Naruto would respond. At the same time, in Kirigakure's area, Obito's one eye widened. Can't believe what my eyes see. What did he see? Susanoo. No. This is a full King Susanoo. Although Obito can't use it, Obito knows the stages that Susanoo has. The gangsters initially thought that Sasuke had only learned the first stage of Susanoo. I didn't expect that when Sasuke made a move, it turned out to be a complete Susanoo. This situation is completely beyond Obito's expectations. Obito insisted on staying to see Naruto's hidden strength. As a result, Sasuke gave him a big surprise to the point that Obito didn't want to accept it at all. Obito subconsciously turned his head to look in the direction of Akatsuki, to see Itachi's expression. Although the distance was too far, Obito couldn't see the expression on Itachi's face clearly. But Obito clearly felt that Itachi was no less shocked than him, even more shocked than him. Obviously, Sasuke's performance was completely beyond the expectations of the big brother Itachi. After the shock, Obito's face completely darkened. A new obstacle to the plan. However, it remains to be investigated, maybe they can be drawn to my side. It's a pity that the plan for the night of genocide failed, otherwise the chances of winning over will be even greater. With soil in his mind, he quickly calculated whether he could win Sasuke to his side. But with the Uchiha family intact, Obito couldn't make it possible for Sasuke to leave Konoha and join them. Dried persimmon Kisame raised his head and opened his mouth in a daze. Is this really your brother? Can you use this trick too? Itachi was also shocked, but he didn't look as stupid as Kanshi Kisame. Facing the question of dried persimmon and ghost shark, Itachi was silent for a moment, then nodded. Yes, but not as big as his and not complete. Pain frowned slightly, and looked back at Itachi. I want you to tell me everything you know about this Chakra Titan. Of course, now is not a good time to say this, after we go back, I hope you will not have any concealment. Itachi hesitated for a moment before nodding in agreement. After all, the sequel may have been shown in public. And no matter how Naruto responds next, some of Susanoo's history will inevitably be exposed. Itachi just needs to talk about these exposed strengths to fool them. And Itachi doesn't know much about it. Pain withdrew his gaze from Itachi, and then looked at Naruto on the ground. How will you react, Uzumaki Naruto? Everyone in the ninja group of the Uchiha clan let out deafening cheers. Although most people also don't know Susanoo, but it is their Uchiha people who use it, that is their pride. Standing at the front, Fugaku crossed his arms, with a very satisfied expression on his face. It was not in vain that he worked so hard to teach these days and nights. When Sasuke appeared on the stage, he really shocked everyone. Then, Fugaku turned his gaze to Naruto. Among all the people present, only Fugaku knew that Naruto had the strength to fight against the perfect Susanoo. After all, Fugaku is the one who saw Naruto practice Nine Tails mode in the middle of the night. It is also because of this that Fugaku thought of letting Sasuke learn Susanoo. Come on, Naruto, show all your power. Come to a battle that shocks the world, so that everyone can clearly see our strength. Fugaku's eyes burned, impatient for the fight he had almost single-handedly brought about. After all, without him teaching Sasuke to learn Susanoo, Naruto would not have had an opponent who could fight heartily. And at this time, Naruto looked up at the 100-meter-high complete body Susanoo, roughly estimated the height, and then whispered with a chuckle. Is it only a little over 100 meters? It seems that chakra's restrictions on Sasuke are a bit too big. That's right, after all, Sasuke is only 7 years old now, and he doesn't have a constitution like me. Susanoo who can sustain 100 meters is already very impressive. But in this case, I don't need to use all my strength, otherwise it would be like bullying a child. The height of the full-body Susanoo depends on the chakra and pupil power of the caster. Sasuke's pupil power is enough, but chakra is not enough, so Sasuke's sequel looks a bit short. Although in the eyes of everyone, it is already an incredible titan. But if Naruto uses the Nine Tails mode with all his strength, the height will be several times higher than that of Sasuke. If you really use your full strength, don't say whether this arena can hold him. Even if it can be accommodated, the gap between the two is too big, and there is no feeling of being evenly matched. Naruto also hopes that this rare battle can be more enjoyable. It's no fun to keep killing opponents in seconds. Old man, it's time for you to come out and breathe. Naruto said to Nine Tails, who had been watching the show with a smile. In the mental space, Nine Tails' voice immediately echoed in his mind. This can't bring out our full strength, but forget it, it's good to come out and get some air. There is communication here. After completing the full-body Susanoo, Sasuke became crazy. Ha 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 ha. Look, this supreme power, this absolute power that surpasses everything. Even you, Naruto, it's impossible to defeat me in this state. Sasuke laughed maniacally, looking down at Naruto, who was like a small dot. From my point of view, you look like an ant now. But I know that your strength is definitely not right for this. Show it now. Don't let me down, Naruto. Naruto raised his head, looked at Sasuke, who was completely insane, and said calmly. As you wish. The moment the voice fell, Naruto's body erupted with a fierce tail beast chakra. Red's ominous tail beast chakra swells instantly to the same height as the full-body Susanoo. And the tail beast chakra solidified quickly, turning into Nine Tails. The Nine Tails mode has a brown color as a whole. This is because Naruto has not yet learned Sage mode and cannot use the magic chakra. Otherwise the Nine Tails pattern is golden yellow. 9 brown tails waved behind 9 tails, seemingly light but with a strong power zone. And Naruto's body is hidden in 9 Tails' body. I hope you won't disappoint me, Sasuke. Naruto's voice came from 9 Tails' mouth. Here's what I'm going to say, Sasuke screamed frantically. And the audience was dumbfounded again. Just saw Sasuke's horrified full-body Susanoo. In the blink of an eye, 9 Tails appeared. All of a sudden, the memories of the 9 Tails wreaking havoc on the village before Tien Sheng came to these people's minds. They ran away screaming crazily, with collapsed faces. I don't want to die. Mom. I don't want to die. Run. 9 Tails is going to run away again. This is a nightmare. This is an absolute nightmare. Where's the Konoha shinobi? Save me. Run. Perhaps the memory of the 9 Tails rebellion is too deep. The moment Naruto cast the 9 Tails mode, both the audience and the Konoha shinobi participants all remembered the disaster 7 years ago. That's everyone's nightmare. On that night, Konoha lost their 4th Hokage and many of their family members. The whole Konoha was hit hard. Fortunately, the 3rd generation temporarily took charge of the situation and did not let the situation deteriorate further. Right now, those Konoha shinobi who had experienced the 9 Tails chaos all showed panic when they saw the familiar figure of 9 Tails. Only a few people can see that the 9 Tails chaos in front of them is different. It's time for us to play, we must not let chaos stop this battle. Fugaku calmly commanded his people. Maintaining order has always been the duty of the guard. 7 years ago, the Uchiha clan was not able to arrive in time because the roots disguised themselves as Anbu to obstruct them. As a result, they were suspected by the village, which further expanded the conflict with the village. Now, Fugaku won't repeat the same mistakes. The Uchihas also thought of that aggrieved night, and they took action one after another to maintain order. Under their leadership, some sober Konoha shinobi and Anbu also took action. After some chaotic adjustments, the scene finally calmed down. However, Naruto, who caused a panic, didn't care at all. Isn't that all your strength? Nine Tails opened his mouth and made Naruto's voice. Actually fight with all your strength, don't leave any regrets. I'm looking forward to that too. Sasuke snorted coldly and said. I didn't expect to be seen through by you, but it is. If you can't even see through this, you are not worthy of being my lifelong enemy. Subsequently, the same Mangekyo as Sasuke's suddenly appeared on Susanoo's eyes. Sasuke's eyes were bleeding. At the same time, Black's flame appeared in Susanoo's hands, condensing into a great sword composed of black flames. Amaterasu, Inferno-style flame control. This is the pupil technique of Sasuke's left and right Mangekyo. Left eye Amaterasu releases black inflammation. Flame control on the right eye changes the shape of the black flame, greatly enhancing the power of the black flame. It is two pupil techniques that complement each other. In terms of attack power, I don't know how much better than the combination of Big Brother Uchiha Itachi's Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi. That's right. Naruto smiled and said, that's what motivates you. If you are ready, then accept the move. Naruto was also unambiguous, and directly used the tailed beast bomb to say hello. Black's tailed beast bomb quickly condensed in the mouth, and then sprayed out. Facing the tailed beast bomb that could easily blow up the mountain peak, Sasuke waved the black flame sword in his hand calmly, and split the tailed beast bomb in half with a single slash. The tailed beast bomb that was split in two grazed Susanoo's body and flew to the distant forest. Accompanied by the violent roar, the forest was directly razed to the ground. Although tailed beast bomb looks small, its condensable power is not weak at all. It's my turn, Sasuke shouted, and the black long sword in Susanoo's hand slashed vigorously. Regardless of the size of both of them are huge, but the action does not seem slow at all. This sword seems to be slow but actually fast, almost appearing on the chest of the Nine Tails model in the blink of an eye. Naruto knows that black flame cannot be head-on, after all, the characteristic that cannot be extinguished is still very annoying. Nine Tails leaned back and stepped back, barely dodging Sasuke's attack. But this retreat made Naruto feel the inconvenience. As the arena of the main match, the momentum of the venue is not small. But that was for them in human form. But now, Naruto and Sasuke have turned into Nine Tails mode and full-body Susanoo, with a height of more than 100. This suddenly seemed that the arena became extremely narrow. It seems that as long as one step is taken, the walls of the arena can be trampled down. If things go on like this, the fight will not only get in the way, but it will also affect their performance. If he really trampled someone to death, then Naruto's long-standing character design would collapse. So, facing the attack from Sasuke slashing again, Naruto jumped directly, and at the same time the huge force cracked the ground, he went directly to the empty space where there was no one. Change to another battlefield, you can't use your hands and feet here. The wings behind Sasuke, which looked like decorations, immediately flew up from the ground. Don't try to run. Sasuke only had Naruto in his eyes, and he didn't notice the situation under his feet at all. If it continues, those civilians will definitely be trampled into a pile of meat sauce. Seeing the two behemoths fly away, the panicked people came to their senses. Then, under the command of Anbu and the guards, they left Gwandu in an orderly manner. Looking at this situation, there is no need to watch the next battle. No matter who the winner is between Naruto and Sasuke, the other contestants will certainly not be able to match these two. It can be said that the suspense of the championship is only in this battle. Whoever wins is the champion. The players prepare for the battle. The qualified people looked at each other with a sense of absurdity in their eyes. For the first time, I felt that the gap between us and Naruto was so big. Tooth couldn't help complaining. But I didn't expect that kid Sasuke to become so exaggerated in silence. Shino said calmly, the Chunin exam ends here. Xiao Li suddenly collapsed and fell to his knees. Damn it. I obviously haven't fought yet. All eyes immediately focused on Xiao Li. They can understand Xiao Li's mood. He was obviously the one who was looking forward to the most, but the opponent abstained. All the expectations were dashed in an instant. But this is acceptable, at least there is another game. But now, not even the next one. At the moment when Naruto and Sasuke opened the doll Gundam, the outcome has been lost. There's no way these guys could compete with Naruto and Sasuke. Ya and others have lost their fighting spirit. This immediately made Xiao Li extremely desperate. Especially Kankuro, he felt a little guilty in his heart. Obviously he was just trying not to embarrass himself too much. Looking at Xiao Li who was kneeling on the ground, Kankuro seemed to have done something unforgivable. Aren't you going to go and have a look? Shino looked into the distance and asked lightly. Everyone came back to their senses, Ya said excitedly. Let's go. This kind of scene is not something you can see casually. Absolutely not to be missed. Ya took the lead and rushed out directly. Others followed suit, and in the blink of an eye, only Tamari and Kankuro were left in the preparation bench. Neji was still lying in the medical room, not yet awakened from a coma. It's not just Xiaoqiang who acted. Almost all the ninjas present rushed out. Except for Anbu and the guards who were maintaining order at the scene. Reikage and others immediately chased after Naruto and Sasuke. Only the third generation was left sitting leisurely in the seat of 5 shadows. What a quickie. Third generation slowly stood up. There wasn't a single bit of concern over whether Reikage would be bad for Naruto. After all, third generation felt that even if they teamed up with the 5 cages, they might not be an opponent in Naruto's state. That breathtaking sense of oppression was different from when he faced Nine Tails 7 years ago. At that time, Nine Tails was chaotic, crazy, but without self-control. Kong has powerful power, but he can't use it 100%. But Naruto's state is different. Not only is his body much larger than that of Nine Tails 7 years ago, but his sense of power is not something that Nine Tails can show at all. From the perspective of third generation, Naruto plus Nine Tails is definitely not 1 + 1 = 2. The combined strength of the two of them far exceeds the limit of addition. I'm not worried, but I'm still curious. Also, the state of Uchiha Sasuke is also very interesting. I didn't expect that Uchiha still hides such a powerful power. Third generation pondered for a moment, and then disappeared in place in a flash. After flying for a long distance, Naruto stopped. As it happens, not far away is the Valley of the End. This is a good place to fight. Looking at the huge statues of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara not far away, Naruto nodded slowly. Then, Naruto looked up, and Sasuke's Susanoo also fell down. The location is well chosen. Sasuke also found something special here. I will defeat you here, and let the entire ninja world remember that the Uchiha clan is the strongest ninja. I am the genius of fat. Through Susanoo, Sasuke's persistent eyes fell on Naruto who was at the core of Nine Tails. Facing Sasuke's declaration of challenge, Naruto just smiled lightly and said, I'll wait and see. And at this time, there were constant swishing sounds all around. Many figures appeared on the trees. Almost all the ninjas who could arrive in time came. Dense figures appeared around. However, there is still some distance from Naruto and Sasuke. Although they are curious, they are also very afraid and dare not get too close to the battlefield between Naruto and Sasuke. Sasuke didn't care, it was just a group of ninjas. In the eyes of Sasuke at this moment, everyone is not important except Naruto. Whoosh. The black flame sword swept across, and Sasuke took the lead in attacking. Naruto dodged easily, and at the same time a tailed beast bomb shot out instantly, which was also easily dodged by Sasuke. Another piece of forest disappeared without a trace. Everyone looked at the scale of the battle between the two, and couldn't help retreating a little distance again. Even though we were still a kilometer away from the battle of Naruto and Sasuke, it was still too close. If Naruto comes and launches a tailed beast bomb, they won't even be able to dodge it. It's crazy. Hoshigaki Kisame swallowed his dry throat, his face turned bitter. This thing needs us to deal with in the future? Stop King kidding, it's impossible. The others didn't speak, but their complexions were the same as Kisami's. This is simply impossible for them to defeat the opponent. Even if they all have their own pride, they are just pride, not self-cause. As long as you watch the movement of the two people fighting, you will know that this is not a battle they can intervene in. Don't panic. Don't forget we still have pain. Conan frowned, and immediately took out their trump card to appease everyone's emotions. Naruto is just a special case, but in front of Pain, even if it is as strong as Naruto, it is impossible to be Pain's opponent. Pain was expressionless, but Nagato, who was far away, couldn't help shaking his head and smiling wryly. Conan, you flatter me so much. Even if there is Rinnegan, it may not be able to beat this kind of monster. However, for the ideal in his heart, even if he sacrificed his own life, Nagato would not hesitate. Under Nagato's control, Pen nodded and said, "Don't worry, I won't let you do the act of sending yourself to death. Besides, you can't stand still, otherwise, I'm afraid you won't even be able to beat those Konoha brats." Several people were taken aback for a moment, and then they understood who the kid Pain was referring to. It was the group of brats who showed amazing strength this time with Naruto. They subconsciously felt that it was impossible for them to lose to these brats. But when the words came to their lips, they all fell silent. They suddenly couldn't be sure whether they could really defeat these brats in the future. In fact, the current strength of these brats is also exaggerated. Compared with Naruto and Sasuke in front of them, there is a big gap in the strength displayed by Kiba and others. But in the eyes of several members of the Akatsuki organization, their strength already surpassed that of Jonin. Although they are confident, they have a high probability of winning one-on-one. But that's one-on-one, and these little ghosts are only 7 or 8 years old. If this allows them to grow up, at their growth rate, it will only take a few years to leave them far behind. At this moment, they deeply felt that what Pain said was very reasonable. They can't stand still. Doing anything is better than doing nothing. Otherwise, when the plan is really implemented in the future, if they can't even beat those little devils, it will be too embarrassing. We really should practice after we go back. In the end, dried persimmon Kisame couldn't help but sigh with emotion. This matter has come to an end for now. Everyone focused on the battle between the two. Careful. However, when they turned their heads, everyone suddenly felt creepy. Conan exclaimed, and his whole body turned into paper and flew away. The others left the place immediately. I saw a tailed beast bomb passing by their position and erupting 1 kilometer behind them. With the rise of a mushroom cloud, another forest turned into flat land. This destructive power is really terrifying," Conan said tremblingly, and fell to Pain's side. Pain frowned, carefully observing the battle between the two, trying to find their weaknesses. Maybe speed counts. After all, whether it is Naruto's Nine Tails mode or Sasuke's Susanoo, they are all very good today. It also looks a bit clumsy in action. This may be a breakthrough. Pain thought thoughtfully. Suddenly, he saw that Susanoo disappeared instantly. Appears behind the Nine Tails mode instead. Pain's eyes widened in disbelief. He was able to use the body flicker technique. Perfect Susanoo is naturally able to use ninjutsu. As long as it is ninjutsu that the practitioner is good at, he can use it. And Sasuke is very good at all ninjutsu learned under Naruto's teaching. This created a situation that shocked Pain. But Susanoo is not alone in using the body flicker technique. Naruto's Nine Tails mode is naturally also able to use ninjutsu. In the face of Sasuke's surprise attack, Naruto dodged easily, and at the same time, with a flick of Nine Tails, Susanoo was sent flying. Rumble, a large forest was crushed by Susanoo, but Susanoo was not hurt at all. In everyone's shocked eyes, the battle between the two behemoths was as nimble as two light ninjas. This is simply unthinkable discussion, so shocking. Soon, under the impact of the battle between the two, this large forest was turned upside down. There is no perfect place. The ninjas watching the battle were also forced to retreat constantly, for fear of being involved in the aftermath of the battle between the two. That's not even knowing how to die. It's really scary. What kind of monsters are they too? Reikage and others watched from a distance, even they did not dare to approach rashly. The power of the two of them fighting is too terrifying. Even if Ai has a body comparable to a tailed beast, he doesn't dare to go head to head. Whether it's Naruto's tailed beast bomb, or Sasuke's black flame greatsword. Just looking at it gave Reikage the creeps. Originally, I wondered if I could have a chance to eradicate these two people. Now it seems that it is lucky not to be affected. Onoki frowned, and kept raising and lowering his hands. He really wanted to try to see if his Kong Dun could work on the two of them. But after thinking about it, Onoki gave up this idea. Naruto's Nine Tails mode and Sasuke's Susanoo are too big. Even if Onoki's Dust Dungeon hits, it may not be able to hit the two hidden in Susanoo and Nine Tails modes. As long as they miss, Onoki's attack is meaningless. Compared to Reikage Ai and Onoki, Luo Sha was completely desperate. Although Luo Sha can control placer gold, with his strength, at most he can suppress a tailed beast like Shuhei. Facing the two behemoths in the fierce battle not far away, they simply have no ability to contend. I am majestic Kazekage, am I not as good as Konoha's two little ghosts? At this moment, Luo Sha deeply felt his own weakness. But in despair, Luo was not knocked down. He still carries a heavy responsibility on his shoulders. For the sake of Sanagakure, Luo Sha must not completely admit defeat here. If you can't beat it, you will become stronger. Absolutely cannot admit defeat. I am the shadow of a village. Luo Sha felt ruthless in her heart. Ding! Involution succeeded. You have successfully forced Luo Sha to involve and obtain 10W involution value. The sudden system message made Naruto startled. This daze was almost hit by Sasuke's black flame sword. Fortunately, Naruto got out of the way in a critical moment, otherwise the situation would become a bit tricky. Naruto has to admit that Sasuke's Susanoo is still difficult to listen to. The tricky aspect is mostly Sasuke's Amaterasu black flame. Once this thing gets on it, it cannot be extinguished. Very difficult, so Naruto played a little cautiously. On the other hand, Sasuke, relying on Susanoo being flexible enough and tough enough, unexpectedly suppressed Naruto for a while. This also gave Sasuke an illusion. With just a little more effort, he can beat Naruto. At this time, Sasuke's eyes were already red, and he only had the obsession to defeat Naruto in his eyes. The sword almost hit just now. In Sasuke's view, it was the moment when Naruto had come to the end of his strength. Finally. I'm finally going to win. Ha 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 ha. Sasuke smiled wildly and slashed the black flame sword repeatedly. At this moment, they were surrounded by black flames. Seeing that Naruto was already surrounded by black flames, he had no choice but to leave in an instant and distance himself from Sasuke. Just as Sasuke was about to catch up, Susanoo's left foot exploded. Unknowingly, Naruto's chakra from Vice Admiral's explosive technique was attached to Susanoo's feet. Of course, this can't have any impact on Susanoo, but it is enough to make Susanoo pause the pace of attack. Are you only playing tricks like this? Sasuke asked loudly, and Susanoo's damage returned to normal in the blink of an eye. But when he looked up, what he saw was the giant sword of Nine Tails chakra covering the sky. Each sharp blade is several meters long, and there are tens of thousands of these giant swords. Your progress is very fast, but it's all within my expectation. Naruto said lightly. So, let's escalate the fight scenes. Stop acting like a street bastard like before. Sasuke snorted coldly, and under his control, all the burning black flames on the ground lifted into the air, forming a black flame sword. Wanjian returns to the clan. Naruto said lightly, then waved his hand. Countless Nine Tails chakra giant swords immediately fell from the sky with unparalleled momentum. And Sasuke is not to be outdone. Do you think you're the only one who knows how to do this? I've seen it many times. Under my pair of Sharingan, there are no secrets in your moves. Sasuke shouted frantically, commanding the black flame sword to meet him. Like the point of a needle against a wheat-on, the great sword of Nine Tails chakra and the black flame sword collided one after another. Every collision will trigger a violent explosion. The whole sky suddenly bloomed like fireworks, incomparably gorgeous, but full of danger. Wave after wave of blasts washed the ground. A flat land with a diameter of more than 1 kilometer was quickly cleared. All the trees and gravel were blown away. This place is like a restricted area of life. Although the fireworks are gorgeous, they are full of deadly dangers. Raikage and the others looked at the successive violent explosions in the sky, and their pupils were shocked. They involuntarily thought to themselves, if these attacks fall on their villages. Just thinking about the possible consequences for a moment makes their hair stand on end and their whole body trembles. I'm afraid their village will be razed to the ground. This kind of powerful destructive power is really terrifying. How on earth did Uzumaki Naruto do it? Raikage said bitterly. Even Bai can't do this. Killer Bee can be said to be the first perfect Jinchuriki, capable of bringing out the full strength of 8 tails. As Jinchuriki, Killer Bee is not a little worse than Naruto. The successive roars lasted for several minutes. The blast wind of the explosion dispersed all the clouds in the sky, revealing a huge sun hanging high in the sky. Smoke and dust filled the sky, blocking people's sight. But when they looked up, they could still clearly see the huge 9 tails pattern in the full-body Susanoo. That's more presentable, Naruto said with a smile. It's rare to have such a posture. If the fight is still so brutal, it will be too ugly. I think, you should have more than these abilities? If you want to beat me, you can't do it just by your current performance. Then, Naruto opened his hands, and 2 Rasengans of red appeared in his palms. Under the influence of the tail beast chakra, Rasengan, who was originally Zon Blue, turned into Scarlet Red, looking full of destructive power. More than that. The 9 tails of the 9 tails mode, each turned into a palm, and each palm holds an orangutan red Rasengan. Tail Beast Rasengan combo. Naruto rushed forward, and under Naruto's control, 11 Rasengan bombarded past in different ways in the form of combos. Sasuke is not to be outdone. Only you know Rasengan. I'll show you my invincible black flame Rasengan. A giant Rasengan suddenly appeared in Susanoo's hand. Then the black flame climbed up and covered the blue Rasengan, turning it into a black flame like Rasengan. Sasuke controls Susanoo, and uses this special black flame Rasengan to blast Naruto. The moment the two collide, everyone's sight suddenly turned white, and without even hearing the voice, everyone was swept away by the violent shockwave. Then they heard a deafening roar, and towering mushroom clouds. After the violent explosion, a giant crater hundreds of meters deep appeared on the ground where the two collided. Naruto and Sasuke stood on the edge of the crater, still unharmed. That's right, as expected of you, Sasuke. Naruto appreciated the strength shown by Sasuke. But it's not enough, Sasuke. Try this move. Naruto controlled the 9 tails mode to climb down and raise the 9 tails high. The tip of the tail is still in the shape of a palm, and Red's Rasengan soon appears. Tail Beast Rasengan Missile. This time, Naruto threw the Rasengans instead of rushing forward. These Rasengan are extremely fast. Appeared in front of Sasuke almost in the blink of an eye. But Sasuke didn't rush, and directly controlled the black flame covering Susanoo's body surface, which greatly enhanced Susanoo's defense. Let these tailed beasts Rasengan bombard you. It's just Rasengan, even my defense is broken, huh? Sasuke was very confident in Black Flame's defense, but as the Rasengan bombarded him, Sasuke immediately noticed something was wrong. But before he could react, successive explosions immediately exploded on Susanoo. The covered black flames were blown away, and Susanoo's defense was also in jeopardy. At this time, Naruto Danshin said, "Explosive version. This is Rasengan fused with Blast Chakra. It will trigger an extremely violent explosion the moment it touches the target. Each Rasengan can smash steel with ease, but Susanoo's defense is really strong." Coupled with the defense of Black Flame, he was bombarded by dozens of explosive versions of Rasengan, and he survived. But if it continues, even Susanoo, who has amazing defensive power, can't be unscathed. Sasuke made a quick decision and directly released Sasuke. Although this will expose Sasuke directly to Naruto's attack, as long as there is a slight gap, Sasuke can escape instantly. Otherwise, if the bombing continued, Sasuke would not be able to escape at all. The tall Susanoo disappeared in an instant. Naruto frowned, and stopped the missile attack. Because Sasuke is no longer in place, did you win? The spectators watching from a distance didn't know why, but when they saw Susanoo disappearing, they thought the victory was over. But then, they saw Susanoo appear beside Naruto's 9 tails mode without warning. The deadly black flame sword slashed down fiercely, as if to split the 9 tails pattern in half. But how could Naruto, who had been prepared for a long time, be hit by this level of attack? 9 tails turned around flexibly, dodged the attack, and at the same time, with the strength of turning around, kicked Susanoo hard and flew out. But before Susanoo flew away, the 5 tails were entangled with Susanoo. The strong force controlled Susanoo's limbs and neck, as if to tear Susanoo apart. Are there any other moves? Naruto asked expectantly. The battle with Sasuke cannot be said to be evenly matched, but at least Naruto relieved his boredom. Ordinary people can't fight him for such a long time. And it's still in the case of Naruto using 9 tails mode. Sasuke saw cracks appearing on Susanoo's body, but he couldn't break free from the shackles of the tail. In desperation, Sasuke had no choice but to control the black flame to cover the body surface again. Really. The moment he saw the black flame, Naruto immediately let go of Susanoo and quickly retreated. Sasuke was also able to escape. Hoo-hoo. Sasuke was among Susanoo, panting heavily, covering his eyes with his hands. At this time, his pupil power has been consumed too much. I'm afraid that if we continue to fight, there will be a risk of blindness. Regardless of the outcome, the next move will be his last. At this moment, Sasuke's heart was extremely peaceful. The heavy breathing gradually became flatter. Fire-style great fireball technique. Sasuke unhurriedly made seals, and Susanoo also followed his movements. Subsequently, a huge great fireball with a diameter of tens of meters was spewed out by Susanoo, but the direction of the target was not Naruto, but released towards the sky. This scene immediately made everyone watching the battle feel inexplicable. However, seeing this scene, Naruto understood what Sasuke wanted to do. It's really exciting, but when did you learn Chidori? Naruto was a little curious, and realized that Kakashi didn't teach Sasuke. But that's not the point. The point is that the technique that Sasuke is about to use, according to its original power, does not pose much threat to Naruto at this time. At the beginning, Itachi relied on Susanoo in the second stage to resist this move called Kilin. Now Naruto's defense in the Nine Tails mode is much stronger than Susanoo in the second stage. Therefore, if it is just an ordinary Kilin, it will only disappoint Naruto. You won't disappoint me, Sasuke. Naruto watched intently, and didn't disturb Sasuke's preparations. But the people in the distance made doubtful voices. What's that Uchiha kid doing? Is it insane? Raikage directly said what was in his head. Such a powerful attack, but instead of releasing it towards the enemy, it is aimed at the sky where there is nothing. Is he crazy? Onoki frowned slightly. As an old silver coin, he instinctively felt that there must be something wrong. But he didn't know what the problem was. Luo Sha was in a panic at the moment. The strength shown by Naruto and Sasuke is far beyond his imagination. But as the shadow of a village, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he must guarantee his indifferent attitude as Feng Ying. Therefore, he tried his best to maintain a stiff face, and pretended to be indifferent. Whether he's crazy or not, don't you know just by looking at it? Raikage snorted coldly, turned around and said. Attacking to such a degree, you are either crazy or stupid. There is no suspense in this battle. It was Konoha's Jinchuriki kid who won. However, Uchiha's kid did his best. At least let us see the hidden strength of Uzumaki Naruto. Ai's face was extremely serious. In this game, more problems were exposed than he imagined. But there is undoubtedly only one most pressing problem. That is, Naruto must be eradicated. Otherwise, it's really hard for Ai to imagine what will happen in the ninja world 10 years later. I am afraid that there will be no one who can stop Uzumaki Naruto by then, right? When I think that this future is gradually approaching, I feel a suffocating sense of urgency. For the future of Cloud Shinobi Village, I, as the shadow of a village, must create the direction of the village's future. But it's a pity. Although I doesn't want to admit it, the reality is that he can't do it alone. With him alone, there is no chance of winning against Naruto. Even with the addition of his younger brother's perfect Jinchuriki Killer Bee, it's the same, there is no comparison at all. Wait. What the hell is he trying to do? Suddenly, Onoki let out an exclamation, which immediately attracted Ai's attention. Ai turned his head and looked, suddenly startled. The cloudless sky that had been dispersed by the blast wind suddenly condensed a large number of black. Facing the coercion of nature, even if they are cage-level powerhouses, they need to be cautious. Onoki suddenly realizes what Sasuke's actions are for. Just for this thundercloud. But what is Sasuke going to do with thundercloud? Onoki still doesn't know. Whoa, that guy Sasuke really made a big fight. Tooth couldn't help but let out an exclamation. Is this going to be a thunderstorm? Will it affect here? Shikamaru glanced at it, then said speechlessly. You guys definitely haven't studied hard. Sasuke obviously wants to borrow Thundercloud's power. It won't rain at all later, and the power of the Thundercloud will be drained by Sasuke. Teeth scratched the back of his head, unable to understand the connection between them. Since I can't figure it out, I don't want to. Forget it. Let's see what he plans to do. Tooth's face was full of excitement. Although the strength displayed by Naruto and Sasuke left them beyond their reach, Kiba was not discouraged. Also taught under Naruto, Kiba is confident that he will be able to catch up. This may be the blind self-confidence of a fool. Hinata opened her eyes and looked at the situation in the distance. Sasuke-kun's chakra is running low, maybe this will be his last attack. On the contrary, the amount of chakra in Mr. Naruto's body is still terrifying, which is really amazing. After saying that, Hinata closed her eyes and shook her head. It seemed that the situation she had just seen had a little too much impact on her. This is also normal. Hinata should be seeing Nine Tails chakra volume for the first time. Although they are both tail beasts, the amount of chakra in Nine Tails is much larger than that of Shuhei. The two are not at the same level at all. Is it finally over? As Shino said, the others suddenly fell silent. This battle also had a great shock to them. They are also partners who practice together, but Sasuke's progress speed is completely different from them. Now, even able to fight Naruto to this point. Although, depending on the situation, maybe Sasuke is about to lose. But even if they lost, Sasuke was very admirable to them. After all, they didn't even have the qualifications to let Naruto perform Nine Tails mode. In the middle of the battlefield, standing in the center of the Nine Tails pattern, Naruto folded his arms and looked up at the sky. At this time, the sky has been completely covered by Black's thundercloud, and countless electric snakes are flipping in the thundercloud. At this time, Sasuke's voice came over. This blow is my strongest move. You, next? Naruto lowered his gaze and saw Sasuke inside through Susanoo on the opposite side. As the fateful opponent you identified, I will naturally follow. Naruto spoke lightly, as if he knew exactly what Sasuke was going to do next. In fact, Naruto really knows it all. However, there are also faint expectations. Expect Sasuke to surprise him enough. Otherwise, the ending of this battle would be too dull. Of course, it may still be shocking in the eyes of others. But in Naruto's eyes, this ending is too bland. Sasuke had already given Naruto a surprise by imitating his 10,000 swords Gizong with Black Flame before. But this is because Sasuke's flame control took advantage of Black Flame's shaping ability, so it was able to imitate. Next, Krilin. Naruto is very curious about how Sasuke will change. Go ahead if you can. Sasuke's voice is extremely calm, although at this time he is very weak in his body due to the exhaustion of chakra and pupil power. But on the surface, he still maintains his dignity. A piercing sound like thousands of birds chirping at the same time came from Susanoo's hand. This sound was clearly heard even by exhibitors who were miles away. Kakashi's complexion changed when he heard the voice. The might guy next to him is also looking back at Kakashi curiously. Isn't this your Chidori? When did you teach him? Kakashi shook his head blankly, then said, I don't. However, maybe he saw it when I used it. After all, he has Sharingan and copied my movements. Might guy nodded knowingly. Then look in the direction of the battlefield. But in the current battle, can a Chidori make an effective counterattack against Naruto? Kakashi shook his head and said, it stands to reason that it is unlikely. But the current battle has gone beyond our understanding, so everything is possible? The piercing sound was accompanied by intense electric current flowing in Susanoo's hand. Following Sasuke's control, Susanoo raised his hand, and Renbird's thunderlight flew into the sky immediately. Boom boom boom. The thunder in the thundercloud was immediately aroused, making a deafening roar. This is my last resort, Sasuke suddenly shouted and said. You don't want to die, Naruto. Naruto responded immediately. Don't worry, I won't die. Among Susanoo, a smile formed on the corner of Sasuke's mouth. Immediately, Sasuke gently and steadily said the name of the last move. Black Flame Krilin. In an instant, countless black flames appeared in the thundercloud. And a Krilin outlined by thunder pokes its head out of the thundercloud. Hei Yan immediately attached it, without any reaction to Lei Guang, but attached very obediently. This has Flame Control's ability to shape Black Flame. Amaterasu's Black Flame plus Chidori's Thundercloud Krilin? Naruto looked at the huge thunderbeast Black Flame Krilin in the sky with admiration. What a good combination. You did surprise me, Sasuke. Unfortunately, you are still unable to reach my height. Kurama, let's end this fight. Nine Tails' voice entered Naruto's head. Are you going to use that trick? Naruto smiled slightly and said. Since Sasuke has worked so hard, it is natural to convince him of defeat. Nine Tails suddenly said excitedly. Then let's get started. After Nine Tails output chakra with all its strength, several huge red Rasengan appeared on Nine Tails. And in the mouth of the Nine Tails mode, a pitch-black-tailed beast bomb quickly condensed. And it's not over yet. Naruto actually managed to fuse the 9 Rasengan with the tailed beast bomb. With unparalleled control, Rasengan is a perfect combination with tailed beast bomb. Suddenly, a huge tailed beast bomb Rasengan with a diameter of over 100 meters appeared above Naruto's head. Generally speaking, in the tailed beast bomb Rasengan of red, the black color of tailed beast bomb appears. Soul-stirring. Then, under the eyes of everyone, Huge-tailed beast bomb Rasengan collides with Sasuke's black flame Kilin. This moment. The world is quiet. The sound disappeared. The screen also disappeared. There was only dazzling white light in his eyes. I don't know how long this silence lasted. It's like a world. It seemed like just a moment. Everyone stared blankly, even though they were stimulated by the white light and burst into tears, they didn't blink. They don't want to miss all the details of this last moment. Finally. Everything is back. Sound and picture are all back. Coming together, there will be an extremely violent explosion shockwave. Even if they were thousands of meters away, they were sent flying by this shockwave. What was blown away together was everything on the ground. Trees, stones and more. When the shockwave was over, they struggled to get up from the ground, and when they saw the middle of the battle, no matter who it was, their mouths grew in shock. Really, too scary. I saw that a bottomless huge pit appeared in the center of the battle, with a diameter exceeding several kilometers. The traces of this kind of battle, not to mention whether they have seen it or not, they have never even heard of it. Third generation watched this scene with pride and distress. With Naruto here, let's see who dares to take advantage of our Konoha. Third generation took out his tobacco rod, skillfully poured a little tobacco on it to light, and took a puff happily. Then, looking at the battlefield that had been destroyed to change the terrain, he frowned tightly. This is the forest of Konoha, which belongs to the natural protection belt. They were all made by first generation with wood style, and with Yamato's wood style, I don't know how long it will take to recover. Sigh. Third generation shook his head bitterly, but then he restrained his expression, showing a decent but very smug smile in the eyes of others. Because, other shadows appeared beside him. Looking at the other shadows with complicated complexions, third generation said with an involuntary smug smile. Everyone, it seems that the outcome has been decided. Let's see who is the winner. Onoki forced an ugly smile. The others didn't even bother to smile. It's just that the current form is too harsh for them. Naruto's strength has already shocked them, and it turns out that there is another Uchiha Sasuke? Killing a Naruto is already an extremely difficult task, but now we have to add a goal that is also not easy. They are all very worried about how to solve the difficult situation before them. Seeing their unconcealable distressed faces, the smile on third generation's face became even more proud. Oh. Looks like our winner has come out. Third generation looked at the bottom of the giant pit and saw a figure slowly approaching from a distance. His words immediately attracted the attention of others. The four Onogi stared at the bottom of the pit with wide eyes, and saw that figure as well. But because the distance is too far and the depth of the pit is deep, it is difficult to see clearly. However, as the figure gradually approached, revealing a touch of bright gold, they couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it's Naruto on the left. If Uchiha Sasuke wins, they will have even more headaches. After all, facing a Naruto is already enough to make one's scalp tingle, let alone a guy who is stronger than Naruto. Fortunately, Naruto is still the most troublesome one. However, the question of Uchiha Sasuke also needs to be on the agenda. This is definitely not an easy character to deal with. As Naruto gradually walked in, they also saw Sasuke's situation. At this time, Sasuke was held in front of Naruto in the form of a princess, and apparently fell into a coma. This is also normal. At the age of 7 years old, displaying such unreasonable strength, the body must have been overdrawn. It is already a good result to have a life. Of course, this is Onoki's speculation. In fact, under Naruto's constant introversion behavior, although Sasuke's chakra is much less than Naruto's talent and Jinchuriki identity, compared to other common jonin, it is already very large. In the distance, En and the others saw the victory and defeat announced from a distance, and after seeing Naruto appearing with Sasuke in his arms, they turned and left. The goal has been achieved, we should leave. Pain still looked very calm, but Nagato behind the scenes was already dripping with cold sweat. This kind of terrible destructive power, even if he casts the super god Luo Tien sign, it may not be able to achieve this effect. And I don't know why, Nagato always feels that Naruto seems to have no background. Obviously the scene of this battle was extremely sensational, but Nagato just had such an intuition. Seeing that Pain was still very calm, the nervous expressions of the other Akatsuki members couldn't help but eased a bit. That's right. So what if Naruto is stronger? On our side we have the Rinnegan only available in Sage of Six Paths in Legendary. At that time, as long as Pain uses the power of Rinnegan, it doesn't matter whether you are Naruto or not, it will not be against the people. Thinking of this, their expressions relaxed a lot. What do we do next? Dried persimmon Kisame asked curiously. Why don't you take advantage of Naruto's abundance now? Pain shook his head. Now is not the time. Although if I make a move, ninjas other than Konoha will definitely help us eliminate Naruto together, but what about after that? Our existence would be exposed, especially mine. At that time, it will become a very big obstacle to our plan. Kisame nodded knowingly and said, then shall we go back now? Scorpion said lightly, are you talking nonsense? What else can we do but go back? Pen said suddenly. Perhaps, we should put the plan on the agenda. Don't forget, Naruto is only 7 years old now. If you continue to let him grow up, sooner or later he will grow up to the point where even I may not be an opponent. Said in a hoarse voice. I'll go collect information about the tailed beast. Pain glanced at him, nodded and said, go. In fact, it is not to look for the trail of the tailed beast, that is, Jinchuriki, but to look for Obito and ask Obito for his opinion. After all, the leader behind the Akatsuki organization is Obito. Pain is just a sign on the surface. As soon as he heard that the plan had to be moved in advance, Hidan, who was a militant, couldn't wait to say. Then let's capture Sanagakure's tail beast now. Is he still unconscious now? Boom. Kakuzu punched Hidan on the head and said coldly. Have a long brain, now we are still in Konoha's territory. If we really dare to do this, do you believe that all the ninjas will immediately surround us? Deidara said calmly. Idiot, even if you want to choose a target, you must naturally choose those unobtrusive targets. For example, those Jinchuriki who are not in the 5 great ninja villages. Hidan immediately glared at Deidara. After all, he couldn't beat Kakuzu, and his suicide ninjutsu had no effect on Kakuzu. What do you know, you brat? You can make an explosion, it's so noisy every day. When Deidara heard this, he immediately said dissatisfied. Then it's not the same if you worship evil gods there every day. You're like a lunatic talking about gods and gods every day. Hidan responded directly. I'm crazy. What can you do to me? Deidara panicked immediately, and put her hand into the clay in her pocket. Fortunately, a hand grabbed Deidara's arm, which didn't make Deidara feel impulsive. Conan grabbed Deidara's arm and said flatly, don't be conspicuous, do you want us to be exposed? Although the voice was weak, it was full of threats. Even though Conan is the only woman in Xiao's organization, Conan is also very good in terms of strength. She is good at manipulating paper, as long as you give her enough time and money to prepare, she can kill even a god. Oh. The two curled their lips and turned their heads away from looking at each other. Just like two immature children. In this way, the Xiao organization quietly left the stage without anyone noticing. With the same idea as Akatsuki, there is Obito hidden in Mist Shinobi. Now that there is no chance to kill Naruto, Obito will not stay here anymore. The main thing is that Obito noticed the departure of Akatsuki's organization, and Ju went underground. Obito instinctively felt that it was very likely that he would come to find him. Soon, Obito came to a deserted space. Almost the next moment, Ju got out from the nearby trees. What's the situation? Obito asked in a low voice. In front of Ju, who knows his identity, there is no need to make any unnecessary disguises. Black Zetsu said in a hoarse voice. Pen intends to start the plan early before Naruto continues to grow. When he heard that the plan was to be launched in advance, Dai Wang instinctively frowned. But if you think about it carefully, Pain's concerns really make people care. Obito just remembered that Naruto is only 7 years old now. He's only 7 years old, but he's already so obedient. If Naruto continues to grow, Obito couldn't imagine it at all. So, Ku Wang Li immediately nodded in agreement with Pain's idea. Let him do it, but be sure to pay attention to your own safety, his Rinnegan still has a very important role. Ju nodded, sank into the trees and disappeared. Only Obito was left meditating on the spot. He was thinking, should he also speed up his actions? But now is not the time for him to leave Kirigakure. Even for the 3 tails in Yagura's body, Naoshin couldn't just leave. Let's observe the form first, and see how the next situation will develop. Obito vaguely felt that after today, the situation in the entire ninja world would undergo a huge change. Soon, he hid himself in the Kamui space, controlling Gofu Yagura in the dark. Sure enough, Naruto won. Fang seems to sigh, but actually feel a little pity for Sasuke. Obviously that guy Sasuke has done this, but he still hasn't beaten Naruto. Ya turned his head, and saw the envious and jealous expressions on the faces of little Sakura and Ino beside him. Tooth asked curiously. What's wrong with you? Why are you looking so strange? However, the two didn't respond to Ya's words at all, they just talked to themselves. Sasuke, this lucky guy. I also seem to be hugged by Princess Naruto. Damn it. This guy Sasuke is so lucky that he doesn't know what is going on. Such a good opportunity, he passed out. What a waste. The two spoke angrily. Ya and others who heard the conversation between the two suddenly showed embarrassment. They looked at each other, and then said cautiously. Is it possible that Sasuke doesn't want to be hugged by Princess Naruto? Kiba has an intuition that if Sasuke knows that he is hugged by Princess Naruto, his face will become as ugly as if he ate shit. What do you know? Little Sakura suddenly shouted sharply. That's Naruto-kun's princess hug. The gentlest Naruto-kun's princess hug in the world. That's the dream of all our girls. He scratched his head every day and said. Yeah. Why doesn't she feel that? It is better to study hidden weapons to make people feel faster. Hinata secretly agreed, but she was naturally shy and would not say it so blatantly like little Sakura and Ino. Okay. Don't just watch here, let's go and have a look. Shikamaru put his hands in his pockets and said as he walked. The Chunin exam is over, it seems that the Chunin exam will be held here. After all, everyone is here. When Xiao Li behind him heard this, he opened his mouth. Wanted to say something, but in the end it turned into a mouth full of bitterness. Obviously the competition schedule is not over yet, but the Chunin exam has already ended ahead of schedule. In the end, Xiao Li did not wait for his hearty battle. Although in the preliminaries, he beat a pretty tough guy. But it was only one game, Xiao Li didn't enjoy himself at all. But no matter what Xiao Li thinks, from everyone's point of view, this Chunin exam, which has affected the entire ninja world, is completely over. People gathered in the direction of Naruto. They stood on the edge of the giant pit, watching Naruto step by step, holding the unconscious Sasuke towards third generation and others. Third generation smiled so complacently that he couldn't suppress it, watching the person he trusted the most step by step. Finally, Naruto stepped over the huge pit and stood on the flat ground. Give Sasuke to Fugaku, who came over at some time. Sasuke worked hard, Fugaku uncle, you taught me well. Fugaku nodded and said. But still not as good as you, Naruto. But that's okay, he will always have a goal to catch up with, which is a good thing for him. Naruto nodded with a smile, then looked at third generation, his face became solemn. Grandpa third generation, I'm sorry for making things so complicated because of my fight with Sasuke. No, third generation hurried forward and said. How can it be said to be complicated? Because of your relationship, there is no need to continue this Chunin exam. You are the winner of the third test of integrity in this Chunin exam. I declare that from now on, you are an honorable Chunin of Konoha village. Naruto's face suddenly revealed a look of joy. Really? Thank you so much, Lord Third Generation. Not only did you not blame us for destroying the forest, but you also allowed me to successfully advance to Chunin, Grandpa Third Generation. How kind of you. Hey, you deserve it all, Naruto. Third Generation grinned from ear to ear, not seeing the banter in Naruto's eyes at all. But Onoki and others behind Third Generation heard that Naruto was promoted to Chunin, and suddenly felt disgusted. This F***king is stronger than us, and it turned out to be Chunin? If Naruto is Chunin, what are we? Genin? No, I'm afraid it's not even as good as Genin. This is too nonsense. Naruto's strength is fully qualified to become an elite Jonin. Even if you, an old man, dare to move your seat, someone dares to let Naruto sit on your ass. Of course, they can only slander a few words in their hearts. In the current situation, if you say such ironic words, you may be beaten by Naruto. They don't want to be beaten by a junior in public. After all, they are the shadow of a whole village. If they are beaten violently by a child, where will their face be put? Congratulations, Uzumaki Naruto. Onoki quietly stepped forward and said with a smile. If you have a chance, come to our land of Earth to play again. Leaving an ambiguous sentence, Yin Yemu left with ulterior motives. Sure enough, the third generation frowned immediately upon hearing this sentence. Then I heard Naruto speak in an innocent tone. Okay, Grandpa Tsuchikage, but I wonder if Grandpa Ying can catch up with me next time? As soon as this remark came out, Onoki's face flushed red. Third generation's brows also immediately relaxed. Especially in conjunction with Naruto's naive doubts, Onoki's tricks of sowing discord can be described as a crit. Reikage I originally wanted to say such a sentence to arouse the doubts of the suspicious third generation, but seeing what happened to Onoki, he immediately restrained his thoughts. Congratulations, I hope to have the opportunity to compete with you. I's congratulations were just pandering, but the latter sentence was his true thoughts. After all, seeing Naruto fighting and facing Naruto directly are two different experiences. I really wanted to know Naruto's true strength more clearly. In this case, only after he personally fought Naruto will he be able to understand. Naruto smiled and said, "If Reikage uncle wants to fight, you can do it now." No. Third generation immediately stopped in front of Naruto, first showed a gentle smile to Naruto, and then turned to look at I with a serious face that was terribly serious. Naruto is tired and now he needs to rest. Obviously, third generation guessed I's plan. Although I am confident that Naruto will not lose, any individual would feel that Naruto spent a lot of physical strength and chakra in the situation just now. It is obviously inappropriate for Naruto to face a cage-level opponent now. Third generation is such a precious Naruto, how could it be possible for Naruto to take a little risk? I pouted and said, "Let's talk about it later." After speaking, he turned around and left with a group of his subordinates. The Chunin exams are over, and there is no need for them to stay. Compared with the large army of more than 100 people when they came, there were only a few 30 people when they left. The rest of the people were all buried in the massacre in the Forest of Death. It can be said that Cloud Shinobi Village and Kirigakure lost the most in this Chunin exam. Because they all sent Jonin disguised as Genin to take the exam. The result was almost annihilated. That's Jonin. It needs to be carefully cultivated, and the ninja needs to have enough talent to cultivate the important combat power of the village. The result is such an unexplained loss in this Chunin exam. This Chunin exam is outrageous. Jonin couldn't even survive. With Cloud Shinobi Village leading the way, other ninja villages have also left. After all, the Chunin exam is over. Even though Konoha Village had prepared a farewell party at the end of the exam, they had no intention of attending it. Because the battle between Naruto and Sasuke deeply shocked their hearts. They find out, what kind of ninjas are they compared to Naruto and Sasuke? Soon, only the Konoha Village ninjas were left. Okay, the Chunin exam is over. Third generation looked around at the surrounding Konoha Shinobi followers, with proud smiles on their faces. I declare that, starting today, there will be a 3-day celebration. Oh. Everyone suddenly cheered in surprise, and the whole Konoha was immersed in the ocean of joy. Not long after, the Root people reported the results of the battle to Danzo, who was waiting for the results at the Root headquarters, and explained the battle scene vividly. Danzo's pale face suddenly became pale, like a dead face. A breath of despair emanated from his body. Danzo suddenly felt that his plan seemed completely impossible to succeed. Naruto showed the absolute strength of, which made Danzo fall into deep despair. Damn it, come back. Danzo shoved his men away, all alone roaring in anger and weakness. The arm that had just been bandaged suddenly oozed blood. The bandage on the right eye socket also oozes bright red blood. This scene made Danzo look like a ghost crawling out of hell. Compared with the ninjas from various villages who left full of worries, the Konoha Shinobi only had pure happiness. Because this year's Chunin exam Konoha really has a long face. Among the 15 contestants in the main competition, only 2 are not Konoha players, and the rest are all Konoha players. And Konoha's ninjas, except for the one who didn't show up, all showed great strength. This greatly enhanced the confidence of the Konoha people in the village. Especially the shocking battle between Naruto and Sasuke completely ignited the enthusiasm of all Konoha people. During the 3 days when third generation announced the celebration, all day people celebrated wildly. The whole street is full of various vendors, all of which are free, and you can eat as much as you want. The Akamichi family is even bigger, because the best yakiniku restaurant in Konoha is run by the Akamichi family. Although the Akamichi family also eats the most. The whole lively atmosphere lasted for 3 days. Everyone got carried away and celebrated. Even after 3 days, the aftertaste could not be eliminated. However, Naruto and the others managed to pull this emotion away very well. Maybe he got used to being around Naruto. Even if they were cheering and jumping a moment ago, they became calm at this moment. Then, on the 4th day after the celebration, Naruto and others went to class as usual. There was no one on the street, and the shops were all closed. Because none of them have woken up yet, and all of them are sleeping at home. Of course, this situation is limited to civilians. As ninjas, regulating emotions is their basic skill. Early in the morning, at the Hokage office, Konoha's bunch of Jonin gathered. There is only one reason for them to gather here. That is to grade candidates for the Chunin exam. This is their role in this Chunin exam. Dozens of Jonin gathered in the spacious office, which suddenly squeezed the room out of shape. But no one complained. Everyone's face was beaming, obviously in a very good mood. The best mood is undoubtedly the third generation sitting behind the desk. This Chunin exam has ended successfully, and I am very happy. Third generation said cheerfully. At the same time, I am also very proud that there are geniuses like Naruto and Sasuke in our village. Of course, the progress of Hinata and others is obvious to all. They are all role models for the village in the future. All Jonin eyes were on the father of these children. Fugaku and Hyuga Hiyashi were expressionless, taking it for granted. The envy in other people's eyes was not fake at all. If they also have children of Naruto's age, they will definitely jump for joy. Although Xiao Li Janai and the others are the only ones who advanced, but the students of Naruto's class, every one of them has good strength, and the weakest one already has the special strength of Jonin. It's a pity that their children are not of the right age, or they don't have children yet. Did not catch the express train of Naruto. Compared to Fugaku and Hyuga Hiyashi, other people's fathers, such as Shikamaru's father Shikahisa, Choji's father Choza, etc., 10 of them are full of joy and pride. Obviously very happy with their children's results. The people next to him also warmly congratulated. The scene suddenly became lively. Third generation watched cheerfully, and then spoke slowly after their voices stopped. The children work so hard, of course we can't let them down. For the evaluation of promotion, have you come to your conclusion? At this time, Lu Ju, who is the monitor of Jonin, stepped forward with a cardboard. It's out now. This is the list of promotions. Please have a look. Lu Ju handed the cardboard to third generation. Third generation looked at it carefully, then nodded in satisfaction. Basically the same list as he had in mind. However, third generation still asked a lot. By the way, what about that person named Jian Meichung? Because of the buy, I didn't notice his specific strength. However, Lu Ju's expression suddenly became weird. After waiting for a long time without answering, third generation looked up curiously, and saw Lu Ju's strange expression. What's wrong? Is such that? Lu Ju sighed helplessly and said. Actually, that Jian Meichung is a spy of other people's village. Spy? Third generation's eyes widened suddenly. Which village? Have you found it? Check it out. Lu Ju's complexion was a little ugly. He's a spy from Yinin village. Third generation frowned suddenly. Yinin village? I have an impression of this ninja village. Third generation. Rather impressed. After all, the people from Yinin village had the second largest number in the preliminaries of the third test, with a total of 9 people. So, what did he hear? Did you catch him? Lu Ju shook his head and said. No, when we knew Jian Meichung's identity, he had already left the village. Leaving together are the same team member Yakushi Kabuto who took the test in the red copper armor. They are all spies from Yinin village. Third generation frowned deeply. If he remembered correctly, these 3 people should have grown up in the village since childhood. They turned out to be the spies of Yinin village? What happened to this Yinin village? As if knowing the doubts in third generation's heart, Lu Ju said slowly. As for this Atonin village, in fact, the person who founded this village is Orochimaru who betrayed Ninja. Orochimaru. Third generation's eyes suddenly widened. It's him. Lu Ju nodded and said. This news was told to us by Naruto 2 days ago. He said Orochimaru attacked their team during the second exam. But he was defeated by him and Sasuke successively, so Naruto didn't care. Third generation's brows stretched. Naruto is fine. But Orochimaru, I didn't expect him to create a ninja village without making a sound. It seems that he can't be allowed to continue. It's about Naruto's safety, and third generation doesn't care about the former master-student relationship at this time. Now third generation is most concerned about Naruto. Lu Ju, immediately send people to investigate the situation in Otoshi village, and find traces of Orochimaru as soon as possible. After finding it, pass the news back as soon as possible. Lu Ju nodded in response. Yes. 8 in the morning. The school bell rings on time. The students immediately sat back in their seats. Excitement remained on everyone's face. Although the emotional adjustment is good, they are only 7-year-old children after all, and it is difficult to calm down the excited mood easily. At this time, The teacher's door was opened, and Iruka walked in holding the textbook. Students, although I don't know if it's appropriate for me to call you that now, but since you are still in class, then I am your teacher. Iruka said, laughing at himself suddenly. I don't know if I'm qualified enough to teach you. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed immediately. Tooth said loudly. Mr. Iruka, you will always be our teacher. This sentence moved Iruka a little, wiped the wet corners of his eyes, and said Iruka. Thank you. Thank you. Iruka put the teaching material on the desk and said with a smile. Before I start class, I want to make an announcement. I have just been notified, Iruka said with a smile. Candidates who participated in the main competition, you have successfully advanced to Chunin. When everyone heard it, the city cheered. Ya and the others immediately jumped up from their seats excitedly and cheered loudly. I'm a Chunin. I'm a Chunin now. I'm the same as teacher Iruka. Haha, I'm Chunin now. Can Jonin be far behind? The children who failed looked at them enviously. That's great, I want to advance too. Unfortunately, the exam in the Forest of Death is too difficult, just a little bit. Those Anbu people are too rogue, so many people besieged us. The next Chunin exam, I must pass. Me too. We'll be together then. You must not be left too far behind. Iruka looked at the cheering children with a gratified smile on his face. In any case, they're his students taught by Iruka. Although Iruka didn't teach anything, Naruto was teaching part of the time. But this still couldn't resist the pride rising in Iruka's heart. Look. This is the students that I, Iruka, teach. In the future, they will all be big names in the ninja world. Thinking of this, Iruka couldn't help turning his eyes to the most dazzling person. However, looking at the past, Iruka's mouth froze suddenly. I saw, amidst the cheers, Naruto sat by the window, out of place and quietly. He frowned, not knowing what he was thinking about. And this scene, Iruka has seen it many times. Every time I see him, Naruto will give him a big surprise. I don't know what kind of surprise Naruto will give him this time. His throat moved, and then Iruka asked with difficulty. Naruto-kun, why don't you look so happy? Hearing Iruka's words, the cheers in the classroom suddenly died down. They all stopped cheering and turned to look at Naruto. Like Iruka, after seeing Naruto's frown, everyone's heart skipped a beat. The last time Naruto frowned, the result was this Chunin exam that swept the entire ninja world. What does Naruto want to do this time? No, I'm very happy. Hearing Iruka's question, Naruto stood up and said. But this is all in the past, we should focus on the future. The future? Iruka smiled reluctantly. Then Naruto-kun, what future are you thinking about? When Shikamaru heard Iruka's words, his complexion suddenly changed. Idiot Iruka. What are you talking about? Aren't you talking to Naruto? Can you ignore him? Shikamaru screamed wildly in his heart, but unfortunately Iruka had already spoken, and Shikamaru was powerless to stop it. Then, under Shikamaru's desperate gaze, Naruto said with glowing eyes. Of course it is the future of the entire ninja world. Iruka opened his mouth slightly and asked with a dull face. The entire ninja world? Naruto nodded. That's right, the ninja world is too chaotic now. After this Chunin exam, I have a deep understanding of this. It is because every country has a ninja village, so the wars surrounding the resources of each country will be protracted. So, in order to make war disappear once and for all, I decided to. Iruka swallowed. He had a premonition that Naruto's next words would be earth-shattering. All attention is on Naruto. Naruto said differently. I decided to unify the ninja world. Use the most indifferent voice to speak the most shocking words. The audience froze. Everyone opened their mouths wide and looked at the resolute Naruto in shock. Shikamaru slapped his face in despair. Really? Naruto's frown must be nothing good. This is just great. Naruto is going to conquer the world. Shikamaru complained speechlessly in his heart. However, he knows that as long as it is what Naruto wants to do, no one can stop it. Teeth clasped his ears. What did you just say? I didn't hear clearly. Naruto said seriously. I said, I want to unify the ninja world, so there will be no more wars. This is too exaggerated. Shino stood up and said. Naruto, do you know how big the ninja world is? With the power of Konoha alone, we can't fight against the entire ninja world. The others thought the same, and couldn't help but nod their heads. That's right, Naruto, this matter is different from before, it's not something that can be done casually. Even the little Sakura, who had been looking towards Naruto, persuaded him at this time. Everyone gathered around, persuading Naruto earnestly. They admit that Naruto is strong. The battle of the century with Sasuke 3 days ago was indeed shocking. But even if they think Naruto is invincible, he is not optimistic about Naruto's idea this time. This is war. Even if everyone present has never experienced war, from what their elders learned, war is a very cruel thing. It is rare to enter a period of peace now. Why does Naruto want to break this hard-won peace and set off a war? Everyone is puzzled. They have always had a hard time understanding Naruto's unthinkable decisions. Although Naruto can be proven right every time after the fact. But this time, they felt that no matter what, Naruto could no longer be right. For a while, everyone talked around Naruto to persuade him. Give up. Naruto-kun, war is no joke. The ninja world is so peaceful now. It is said that there has been no war for more than 10 years. Isn't it good to let this peace continue? How about you teach us other ninjutsu? Naruto-kun, don't force yourself. Sasuke watched coldly from the sidelines. He knew that it was impossible to shake Naruto's will with these words alone. Just like those decisions that Naruto made before. Moreover, a tinge of excitement ignited in Sasuke's heart. Perhaps it was because what was taught in school bored him. The battle with Naruto, even though he lost to Naruto, was also hardy. But only that one time, Sasuke felt very regretful in his heart. Sasuke wants to let the whole ninja world know that a peerless genius like him has appeared in the Uchiha clan. Looking up at Naruto in the crowd, as Sasuke expected, Naruto's eyes were extremely firm, not wavered at all by the words of the people around him. In fact, every seemingly outrageous moves of Naruto have been well thought out. If there is not enough confidence, Naruto is absolutely impossible to take risks. This is still the case. Naruto looked at everyone firmly. I've thought about it, and this is what I've come to after thinking about it. This ninja world, it's time for some real changes. When Sasuke heard this, his heart suddenly became hot. This made Sasuke sure that he was really looking forward to what Naruto said to challenge the whole ninja. Maybe this is the pretentiousness that belongs to the genius boy? Always want to do something earth-shattering. Moreover, Sasuke is not without his own purpose. A stern face flashed across his mind, making Sasuke involuntarily clench his hands. Just wait, Itachi. I will find you and destroy you as a traitor. This has become a modest obsession of Sasuke. Although Naruto had vaccinated Sasuke a lot before Itachi's operation. But Sasuke still couldn't believe that the chef he trusted would actually do that. So, Sasuke couldn't forgive Itachi's behavior, even if Itachi had any reason to do so. Because of Itachi's behavior, the glory of the Uchiha clan has been completely tarnished. At this time, Naruto had already walked out of the crowd and fled towards the door. Iruka on the podium finally recovered from the shock. Where are you going, Naruto? Naruto said without looking back. Of course, to find Grandpa third generation. Saying that, Naruto has left the teacher, leaving only the students in the classroom and Iruka staring. It's over. The thought came to Iruka's mind. Regardless of whether third generation agrees with Naruto's idea, Iruka feels that his teaching career is over. Distressed looks appeared on the faces of other students. If a war is really going to start, will they also go to the battlefield? Especially Shikamaru and the others who have been promoted to Chunin are even more confused at the moment. Shikamaru almost twisted his whole body. The promotion to Chunin originally troubled Shikamaru, but now that Naruto has made this happen, Shikamaru has been able to see the countless troubles that await him in the future. In Hokage's office at this time, Shikajiu is reporting to third generation about a Tonin village. Sudden. Lu Ju's voice paused, and the other Jonin's eyes moved. In the next moment, regardless of the current occasion, a person dressed as Anbu appeared directly in the open space beside Lu Ju, came to third generation, and knelt down on one knee. Master Hokage, yes, I have something important to report. Third generation frowned slightly, and he could see this Anbu's body trembling slightly. It's not because of the cold, but because of being frightened enough, or a natural phenomenon of the body that cannot be suppressed after feeling the fear. This immediately gave third generation a bad premonition. What happened? Third generation asked in a deep voice. Yes, it's Naruto, Anbu said with some stuttering. As soon as Naruto's name came out, all the Jonins in the audience frowned deeply. For a while, they have deeply felt how difficult Naruto is. I just finished the Chunin exam in the Quanin world that Naruto came up with on a whim, but after a few days, Naruto is going to make a moth again? As for why they didn't think about what might happen to Naruto. Come on. They saw the battle of the century between Naruto and Sasuke 3 days ago. In terms of combat performance, they are curious who can defeat Naruto. Therefore, Naruto's name came out of Anbu's mouth. It must be because Naruto came up with some tricky idea again. And looking at Anbu's state, it's clear that this show has a lot to do with it. Third generation frowned. He naturally wouldn't think that something happened to Naruto. Naruto must be up to something. What the hell is going on? Say it clearly. Let me explain the next thing. Naruto's voice came into the office from outside the door. Anbu couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief, and his body stopped shaking. As a little Anbu, he cannot change the direction of things, but at least he can change the possibility of this shocking decision coming out of his own mouth. Hearing about Naruto's business, Medei's heart skipped a beat. The things that make Naruto take the initiative to come to the door are not small things. Just finished the chaotic Chunin exam. What is Naruto going to do now? The door was pushed open, and Naruto appeared in front of everyone. All the Jonins showed gentle smiles the moment they saw Naruto. Whether it is Naruto's own strength, or Naruto's ability to teach others to improve the strength of others, they have all been recognized by everyone present. Among them, Uchiha Fugaku and Hyuga Hiyashi earned the most money. Fugaku got a dozen children with Mangekyo Sharingan enabled. And Hiyashi got a further improved gentle fist esoteric meaning. Especially Hyuga Hiyashi, the way he looks at Naruto now is completely gone. After all, Naruto changed some of the ecology of Hyuga's family, and let his daughter Hinata truly show her talent. I don't reject Naruto's contact with Hinata in my heart. If it weren't for the fact that both of them are still young, Hyuga Hiyashi might match them up to get married quickly and let him have a grandson. Seeing Naruto's arrival, the Jonins present all made way for Naruto to face the third generation. Naruto walked over slowly. Every step seemed to step on third generation's heart, making third generation's face tremble. Well, Naruto-kun, this Chunin exam has just ended, you. The third generation said it very politely, but the meaning in the words is also obvious. My ancestor, can't you stop for a few days? This is basically what third generation wants to express. But Naruto was unmoved, stood up in front of third generation, and said, after much deliberation, I feel that now is the time. It's time to? Third generation was at a loss. What time is it? Why can't I understand? Yes, it's time. Naruto nodded. It just so happens that everyone is here, and we need to inform everyone about this matter. I think that the current ninja world seems to be peaceful, but wars may break out at any time because of some contradictions. So, in order to prevent the war from poisoning those innocent civilians again, I plan to unify the ninja world. Everyone's expressions changed dramatically. They knew that Naruto would go to the Three Treasures Hall for nothing, but they didn't expect such a big bomb to be shaken out. Everyone in the audience was blown away. The whole room fell into deathly silence. After more than 10 seconds, Hayo said stutteringly, You, what are you talking about? Third generation blinked his eyes, suspecting that he heard it wrong. You didn't say you want to unify the ninja world just now, did you? I must have heard wrong, right? Or are you saying it wrong? Third generation vehemently denied it, obviously terrified of what Naruto said. Obviously, I sacrificed so many people in exchange for this rare piece. Then you actually want to start a war? Or do you have to fight everyone? Others also came back to their senses. Naruto, this is a big deal, definitely not a small thing. Kakashi frowned persuasively. He is a person who has experienced war, and his two friends all died because of the war. It's just that Kakashi didn't know that his good teammate Obito didn't die, but killed his master Namikaze Minato and his wife instead. That's right, Naruto, war is not the same as the previous Chunin exams. Might Guy is also persuading with a serious face. Might Guy's father was also a person who died during the war, so Might Guy knows very well that war is not a child's play. Others also began to persuade, just like in the classroom. But at this moment, a different voice suddenly appeared. I agree with Naruto. Everyone fell silent immediately, and looked back at the speaker. Then, they saw Fugaku standing up with a serious face. He came behind Naruto. The meaning was obvious. The meaning of Uchiha Fugaku is obvious. He represents the patriarch of the Uchiha clan and fully supports any decision of Naruto. But even with Fugaku's statement, others are not optimistic about Naruto's decision at all. But Naruto didn't come here to discuss with them. Naruto doesn't need anyone's consent to do anything. He just needs to think about it, and then do it. Because of the current Konoha, no one can stop him. Third generation. Third generation is even more impossible. Because third generation has to rely on Naruto to be able to sit on the chair under it with peace of mind. Otherwise, once third generation breaks up with Naruto, believe it or not, Uchiha will kick him out on the same day. Therefore, after seeing Fugaku's statement, third generation's complexion suddenly became ugly. Now Uchiha's overall strength has reached the highest point in history under the strengthening of Naruto. Just a dozen pairs of Mangekyo is an unprecedented experience. Third generation doesn't want any confrontation with the current Uchiha at all, because he can't win at all. Even with the support of Konoha's other ninjas, it is impossible to beat the Uchiha clan. It is precisely because of Naruto's respect that third generation can secure the position of Hokage. But in fact, Naruto reluctantly let third generation sit in that position because he is still too young to be a Hokage. As long as Naruto thinks it is appropriate, Naruto himself will let third generation step down. But this time, after all, he is going against the entire ninja world. Third generation still felt it was too risky. Even though Naruto showed an almost invincible strength, third generation still felt unreliable. Gritting his teeth, third generation made a final effort. Well, Naruto, are you thinking about it? War is deadly, and you fight against all ninja villages at once they unite. Naruto interrupted third generation and said, "Don't worry, Grandpa third generation, now is the perfect time. And, do you think they won't band together after seeing the strength we've shown?" One sentence directly silenced third generation. This is indeed something that third generation has considered. But third generation is very confident in Naruto's strength. Even if other ninja villages unite, it is impossible to assassinate Naruto. So third generation is very relieved. But now that Naruto said this, third generation also had to think about whether it was possible for other ninja villages to unite to start a war. After empathizing, third generation also had to admit that other ninja villages are likely to do this kind of thing. If a strong man like Naruto appeared in Cloud Shinobi Village, third generation must have trouble sleeping and eating, only thinking about how to solve the threat. Now, the last resistance of the third generation is gone. The Jonins present saw Hokage and acquiesced, and the others silently made preparations in their hearts. War is coming. Their hearts tightened, and the things they had experienced on the battlefield appeared in their minds one after another, and everyone seemed worried. No matter how powerful Naruto is, he is only one person. In war, there are countless enemies to face. Since you don't speak, Grandpa third generation, I'll take it as your confession. As Naruto said, he was about to turn around and leave. Etc. Third generation called Naruto to stop. Seeing Naruto looking back at him, third generation couldn't help sighing. Hey. Since I can't change your mind, at least I can give you some ideas. Go to the land of the wind, take a few elites, and before they react, wipe out Sanagakure with lightning force. In this way, even if other ninja villages want to unite, they will immediately lose a natural ally. Naruto nodded silently, but rejected third generation's proposal. I want to unify the ninja world in an upright manner, so I won't do things like sneak attacks. Let's send the persuasion letter first. If they know the current affairs, we can save some effort. As soon as this remark came out, everyone was in an uproar. This is one of the 5 great ninja villages. No matter how strong your Naruto is, you can't make others surrender with a letter, right? This is totally unrealistic. But Naruto didn't care, he just finished his opinion, then turned and left. After Naruto left, Fugaku said flatly, "The security team will enter a state of martial law next. We will help search for spies planted by other ninja villages in the village. I hope you can cooperate." After speaking, Fugaku also came out. At the scene, only a group of staring Jonins and third generation were left. Hey, Lu Ju, quickly analyze the current situation, and then rearrange the defense lines on the border. We must not let other people's villages take advantage of Naruto's departure to capture the territory of the Fire Nation. Lu Ju nodded calmly. Yes, Master Hokage. Others go get ready too. Third generation waved his hands tiredly, and sat down on the chair. All the Jonin dispersed one after another, leaving with a heavy heart. Even if there is a superpower like Naruto on his side, third generation, who has experienced several wars, knows very well that wars are never based on personal strength. When Fugaku walked out of the Hokage building, he saw Naruto heading towards the ninja school. It put a smile on his face. Naruto, do it to your heart's content, we Uchiha clan will always be your backing. Unify this chaotic ninja world, only you can do it. Looking away, Fugaku walked towards the guard station in the opposite direction. He also needs to notify the clansmen about this as soon as possible, so that they are ready to leave at any time. The land of the winds Sanagakure. After several days of long journey, Luo Sha and others who had just returned from the heavy lost Chunin exam finally returned to the land of winds. Looking at the familiar village, the burden that had been weighing on his heart was finally relieved a lot. After Chio's treatment, Gaara has come to life. But his condition was very bad. He looked out of his mind and walked shakily, feeling like you could fall at any moment. When Luo Sha saw this scene, he suddenly lost his temper. It's also Jinchuriki, but Naruto's strength has physically destroyed the village. It turned out that his Jinchuriki couldn't even control the tail beast. This gap is simply a comparison of the popularity of the deadly series. Luo Sha snorted coldly, shook hands and left. He didn't bother to scold. It's useless to scold. Tamari and Kankuro breathed a sigh of relief, and hurried back to the residence with Gaara. Luo Sha and other high-level officials returned to Feng Ying's office. Report the damage, Baki. Luo Sha rubbed the center of his brows, and asked with a frown. Baki stepped forward and briefly reported their losses during the Chunin exam. We lost a total of 13 genin teams, all in the second exam. A total of 39 people's pensions. This is not a simple number, Feng Ying Tianping. Luo Sha waved his hand and said, "You don't need to worry about that." He looked at Chio, Kaido, who was beside him. How's the situation? Is Shukaku still shrinking and not planning to come out? Chio nodded solemnly and said, "That Shukaku guy is totally broken. I even lifted part of the seal, but it didn't move. In a short time, that guy won't make any movement. The good news is that civilians don't need to worry about Shuhei running away in a short time. But the bad news is that when we want to use it, I'm afraid it won't come out." Well, Rosa sighed deeply. This time they originally wanted to assassinate Naruto, but judging from the results, their loss was too heavy. Not to mention the pensions of the 39 people, the money can still be squeezed out. The key is that the one-tail Shuhei, which is an important strategic weapon, is now shrunk inside Gaara's body and cannot come out. This is great. Originally, Sanagakure didn't have many high-end combat powers, and now it lacks a combat power that is easy to make a final decision on the battlefield. This matter must not be known to other ninja village people. Otherwise, Sanagakure will have a difficult time ahead. It's also a kid. Why are Konoha's Xiaowei so strong? As a medical ninja, Chio is very familiar with the mechanism of the human body. But no matter how much she thought about it, she couldn't understand why Konoha's little powerhouses were so powerful. Naruto is Jinchuriki, and can have some interpretation. But the other Xiaoqiang are all just some common people, with some talent at most. This talent is not enough to explain why they have the strength comparable to elite Jonin at this age. Perhaps, this is the secret hidden by Konoha Shinobi? Luo Sha also had a headache. After all, there will always be geniuses in Konoha who will surprise the world. It's like 4th Cage, when his Flying Thunder God technique completely controlled the situation on the battlefield. It can be said that Konoha won the Third Ninja War with his own efforts. Thinking of the abundance of talents in Konoha, and thinking about the withered situation on his side, Luo Sha couldn't help but sigh. The gap is simply too great, and it is still pulling away at an exaggerated speed. As Feng Ying, Luo Sha felt that the burden on him was getting heavier and heavier, but no one could help him share it. Just then, there was a knock on the door. "Come in." Luo Sha sighed and said. The person who came opened the door immediately, and it was a thought. "Master Cage, there is a letter from Konoha. It's from Lord Hokage." Luo Sha frowned instinctively. Baki stepped forward to take the letter from San Shinobi, and handed it to Luo Sha after confirming that there were no traps on it. Luo Sha opened it, and almost instantly, her eyes widened. How dare he? Luo Sha roared angrily. The sound startled both Baki and Chio. What's the matter? What's written on it? Chio directly moved to the side to watch, and then her eyes widened angrily. How dare they? How contemptuous! I saw that in the eyes of Luo Sha and Qian Dai. The 3 characters above the letter were reflected. Persuade the scribes to surrender. Tear. Damn old man, bullying too much. Luo Sha angrily tore the surrender letter into pieces. Obviously, the old man that Luo Sha was referring to was not Naruto. After all, Naruto was only 7 years old, so he couldn't be considered an old man. This old man, of course, refers to the 3rd generation. After all, The surrender letter was sent in the name of Hokage, that is, third generation. Luo Sha apparently did not expect that it was actually Naruto who wanted to persuade him to surrender. If it was Naruto, considering the absolute strength Naruto displayed, Luo Sha would obviously be much calmer, and would not be as angry as he is now. The people in the room fully felt his anger. Not only Luo Sha, but everyone else in the room was also very angry. Chio's face was ashen. Thinking of her son and daughter-in-law who died tragically in the war, she shouted angrily. Fight. If they want to fight us, fight with them. Think we are muddy people? It's too bullying. That old silver coin Sarutobi Hiruzen dared to send us a surrender letter because Naruto was behind him. Even if I risk my old life, my old body will die with that old silver coin. Listening to Chio's crazy shouts, Baki had a bitter smile on his face. Only Baki was calm in the field. But before Baki could say anything, Luo Shali immediately took over the conversation. That's right. What kind of hook is third Hokage? How dare you send me a letter of persuasion? If it's not Naruto. Wait, who? Luo Sha shuddered suddenly, because the lost reason returned to her brain in an instant. The anger on his face disappeared in an instant, leaving only a solemn face. When Baki saw it, he breathed a sigh of relief. At least, Feng Ying of their family is rational now. Although it is not clear whether the war will be fought, if Feng Ying takes the lead and loses his mind, then their battle will undoubtedly be fatal. When Chio heard that Luo Sha's tone was not right, she immediately turned her head and stared at Luo Sha viciously. Are you scared? Luo Sha frowned and said. How can I be afraid, but this matter is of great importance. If that old man from the third generation sends Naruto over, who will resist? Although Luo Sha didn't say it clearly, everyone present could understand Luo Sha's meaning when it came to this point. He can't stop it. It was just to maintain Cage's face, so he didn't say anything. I'll stop him. Chio shouted crazily. Apparently reason has not yet returned to its place. Go ahead. I'll take care of that brat. Ebizo, who had been listening for a long time, hurried forward to pull his overexcited sister. Sister, don't disturb Master Feng Ying's thinking. War is not a child's play. Everything should be arranged by Master Feng Ying. Ebizo dragged the frantically wrestling Chio out of the room, not letting Chio disturb Luo Sha's thinking. At this time, Baki stepped forward and asked softly. Master Cage, what shall we do next? Luo Sha said with a solemn expression. Since that old fellow Sarutobi Hiruzen dared to send me such a letter, it means that they are absolutely sure of winning against us. And this grasp is fixed on Uzumaki Naruto. Our village alone cannot stop Uzumaki Naruto, so we must find allies. Luo Sha immediately realized the criticality of the matter. In the matter of Uzumaki Naruto, their Kingdom of the Wind has common interests with the other three countries. After all, the existence of Naruto blocks the way of many people. If Naruto is not eradicated, they will not be able to sleep well every day. Baki, you immediately send people to Kirigakure, Iwagakure and Cloud Shinobi Village, and pass on the news that I want to form an alliance. Luo Sha immediately told her most trusted confidant Baki about her thoughts and asked him to set off immediately. Remember, this matter is very important and must be done as quickly as possible. Baki also knew how important his mission was, so he nodded immediately. I will. Baki left in a blink of an eye to choose the right candidate, so no time was wasted. Luo Sha was the only one left in the room. Damn Konoha, since you won't give us a way to survive, then don't blame us for resorting to various means. Just wait and see. Even if we lose, you won't be able to live well. Luo Sha's face was full of viciousness. Obviously, Luo Ma has made some kind of determination. Konoha Village Hokage Office Building. Naruto looked at the time and said helplessly. Since I haven't received a reply for so long, it seems that Feng Ying has made a decision. Since this is the case, then we can only use strong methods. Everything is for the real peace of the ninja world. Naruto's righteous face was awe-inspiring, and the third generation beside him was full of helplessness. It's only been 3 days, I'm afraid Feng Ying has just received the letter. Naruto asked in surprise. Is it so slow? Why is the messenger so slow? This is very urgent news, he should have delivered the letter on the same day. Do you think everyone has your inhuman speed? Third generation complained silently in his heart, and then said helplessly. This is already the fastest speed. Naruto shook his head helplessly. No, it's too slow, and I'm sure, Feng Ying will definitely not surrender. It doesn't matter even if they surrender, I will only take Sasuke and the others this time. If they really surrender, it won't be a waste of manpower. Since that's the case, I'll go first, Naruto said, and left without looking back. Leaving behind third generation waved Urkang's hands, helplessly watching Naruto leave in a hurry. Soon, Naruto found Sasuke and others who were ready to go. Obviously, Naruto had already planned to leave, so he didn't care whether Kazekage replied or not. In Naruto's heart, the surrender of falsehood and deceitful snakes is not trustworthy. If you want to conquer an area in a short time, it is obviously not enough to rely solely on forced deterrence. At least you must plant fear deeply in their hearts so that they will not dare to give birth. The mind of rebellion. Although it seems like something a big villain is going to do, Naruto knows what his actions mean. Naruto didn't hesitate even if he would bear the infamy. Get ready to go, Naruto said to his friends who were ready, and reached out to take the bento from Hinata's hand. It didn't look like going to war at all, but more like going on a spring outing. Hinata said with some concern at this time, Naruto-kun, are we bullying people by doing this? Naruto smiled, rubbed Hinata's little head and said, maybe, but I'm doing it for civilians who don't have the means to protect themselves. Only by solving the source of the war once and for all, can they live in peace. At least, I don't want them to go through more wars and ruin their family. Saying that, Naruto looked at his friends seriously. So, this dispute cannot last for too long. 1 month, within 1 month, we will merge all the countries into the territory of our land of fire. When everyone heard it, their expressions became serious. Shikamaru opened his mouth, instinctively feeling that this matter is completely impossible. But when the words came to his lips, he still closed his mouth. After all, Naruto specializes in making the impossible possible. And with Naruto's strength, it's not impossible to do it with full firepower. A month? Too long, Sasuke said lightly. If you and I act separately, it won't take half a month. Naruto smiled and said, then you are underestimating people. Remember the guy who saved your big brother from leaving? He's not a common character. If you don't know his details, even if you are attacked, you may not be able to stop him. Sasuke frowned, full of disbelief. After learning the full-body Susanoo, Sasuke's own strength can be described as infinitely expanded. Although defeated by Naruto, Sasuke knows that he is very strong. The reason why he agreed to follow Naruto this time is also because Naruto said that he would find Itachi for him. Sasuke still wants to personally get rid of Itachi, the traitor, to erase the stain of Itachi, the Uchiha clan. Hearing Naruto say this now, even Sasuke is arrogant, but he pays attention to it in his heart. Okay, let's go. I can't wait, Tooth said excitedly. I haven't been in a war yet, we must go. If my mother finds out, I won't be able to leave. Shino pushed the sunglasses and said, the Tooth is right, because we are still children after all. Even though the strength is already comparable to the Jonin in the village, the elders in the clan obviously won't let us go to the frontal battlefield. If you want to leave, you'd better take advantage of it now. Naruto nodded. Then let's not waste time, let's go. As soon as the tone of Naruto's words fell, the group of people disappeared in place instantly. They are all people who have cultivated the body flicker technique to a very high level, and they have eliminated Konoha village in the blink of an eye. After a few ups and downs, he left the barrier of Konoha. And Anbu, who monitored the barrier, immediately notified the matter to third generation. The third generation stood in front of the window and couldn't help but sighed. Oh, what a quick temper. Although you are very powerful, this world is also very big, Naruto. Third generation's face was full of worry. Besides, if you leave, other villages will definitely wait for the opportunity to sneak attack us when they know the news. I don't know if the border of the village can be defended. Naruto's third generation believes that there will be no accidents. With Sanagakure's strength alone, even if all the Sand Shinobi ninjas go together, they cannot be Naruto's opponent. But if Konoha was picked up by someone when he went out to fight, then he, third Hokage, would lose all face. But third generation is now very worried about whether they can hold on. After all, Onoki and the others are not fuel-efficient lamps. If Naruto's attack on Sanagakure comes to light, Onogi will definitely form an alliance with Raikage. At that time, the danger is that there will be no leaves of Naruto. By the way, Naruto. Shikamaru leaned forward and asked. Have you ever wondered how other ninja villages would react if war broke out between us and Sanagakure? It will definitely be united, and there is no need to put it out. Naruto said casually. Shikamaru said suddenly worried. You also know, what if they attack Konoha before we return? Although Konoha's Jonin are very strong, but in the face of the joint attack of 3 or even many ninja villages, can they really defend? Naruto smiled and said, "Don't worry, I have already made arrangements." When Shikamaru heard it, the anxiety in his heart dropped immediately, but curiosity emerged. "Did you already arrange a backup? But we've all come here with you, who's left there? Could it be someone from the Uchiha clan?" Thinking of this, Shikamaru instantly became transparent. Indeed, with the current strength of the Uchiha clan, blocking the coalition forces from other ninja villages may not be a big problem. However, Shikamaru saw Naruto shaking his head. "No, I arranged for another group of people." Saying that, Naruto smiled mysteriously. Shikamaru saw that Naruto didn't intend to say anything. He had no choice but to hold back the curiosity in his heart. Anyway, he would definitely know what was going on in the future. As for Naruto's backhand, in a remote canyon somewhere in the Land of Fire. Under the waterfall, there are thousands of identical people. They are naturally Naruto's 3,000 clone brigade. At this time, some of these avatars are practicing gentle fist, some are practicing flying ninjutsu, and some are practicing blasting jutsu, etc. Every ninjutsu that Naruto knows has avatars who are constantly practicing, mentioning increase the power of ninjutsu. Sudden. As if receiving some kind of signal, all clones stopped their movements at the same time. The captain of the first brigade stood up and said, "It's time for us to stand on stage. When the main body is fighting outside, we are the ones who defend our homeland. Absolutely do not allow any enemy to step into the territory of the Land of Fire." Oh. The avatars suddenly burst into enthusiastic cheers. Now they can finally stop this endless practice. They can also participate in real actual combat. Naruto and his party enter the territory of the Kingdom of Wind at an extremely fast speed that day. "At our current speed, we will reach Sanagakure in about half an hour." Shikamaru, who was a military advisor, estimated the distance and said, "Do you want to stop and rectify? After all, everyone hasn't had lunch yet." Naruto thought for a while, and suddenly heard a very loud chirping sound, turned his head and saw that it was Choji with a hungry face. Seeing this, Naruto could only shake his head helplessly and said, "Then let's rest for a while. Neji, you are in charge of alerting the surrounding situation." Neji nodded silently, closed and opened his eyes, and opened them immediately. The situation within a few kilometers around is immediately clear at a glance. There is no situation at the moment. Saying that, Neji rolled his eyes back. Although Neji can be turned on for several hours, it is not the time to use it urgently. Keeping a frequency of consumption and recovery can also increase the battery life of the battle. In this way, everyone found a leeward sand dune and took out the bento prepared in advance, and Naruto even took out many meatballs of various colors from the scroll. Halfway through the meal, Neji rolled his eyes for the 4th time, and suddenly made a discovery. 4 kilometers to the northeast, there is a team of sand shinobi ninjas. Looking at the direction they are heading, there is a high probability that they are going to Konoha. Neji immediately reported the situation. Everyone stopped what they were doing when they heard it, only Choji stuffed something into his mouth more desperately. Because Choji knew, there would be no chance to eat next. Naruto frowned and said, "Is Fengying really going to send a letter back? How many people are there? Can you see what they plan to do?" Neji observed carefully, and said while watching, "There were 17 people, and each of them should be a puppet master. I saw that they were all carrying something wrapped in bandages on their backs, which was very similar to Xiao Li's opponent in Chunin's exam." When Xiao Li heard it, his face suddenly collapsed. "Can you stop talking? It's hard to get rid of the disappointment that I didn't show myself in front of everyone, but I got hurt again by Neji." Xiao Li's face was undoubtedly very ugly. Naruto smiled and patted Li's shoulder. "Don't be so discouraged. After all, with your strength, your opponent may not be able to let you display your full strength." Xiao Li felt that what Naruto said made sense. After all, the same sand shinobi ninja who was promoted, Temari, was directly punched by little Sakura. Maybe that guy named Kankuro is the same. Thinking of this, Xiao Li's mood immediately improved a lot. Seeing Xiao Li's mood improved, Naruto turned his head to look in the direction of sand shinobi ninja. "Okay, let's go and see who they are. At least, they don't look like messengers." Quickly packed up the food and garbage, and the figures of the people flashed and rushed over quickly. At this point, the group of sand shinobi ninjas hadn't realized they were being targeted. At this moment, their faces were full of solemnity. The task assigned to them by Fengying Luosha was very arduous. And very inhumane. That is to poison the largest water source in Konoha. It is well known that Sanagakure is good at puppetry and poison. So when Luo Sha saw the persuading letter, he directly sent a wolf to plan to come to the sky. At this moment, what these sand shinobi ninjas are carrying on their backs are not all puppets, but more poisons that have no antidote. In order for the battle plan to be successful, they must evade the defense of Konoha's border and sneak in quietly. At this stage, it is obviously very difficult. After all, if Konoha village declares war, it will definitely impose martial law on the border immediately. They wanted to sneak in secretly, and the difficulty undoubtedly increased a lot. But they never expected that they would be discovered before they left the territory of the Kingdom of Wind. As Naruto and the others approached quickly, Fang's nose moved, and he smelled a faint smell in the air, but he was very concerned about it. Something is wrong. There is a very pungent smell coming from the things they are carrying behind them. Ya suddenly reminded, also barking twice in response. Naruto's eyes narrowed for a moment. The pungent smell, combined with sand shinobi ninjas, almost anyone can guess what these people are carrying. After contacting their direction, everyone's face suddenly darkened at this moment. It looks like Sanagakure is going to tear himself apart completely. Shikamaru said with a serious face, I actually want to poison you. Neji and Hinata rolled their eyes at the same time, and because they were close enough, they saw right through the bandage this time, and saw that the jar wrapped in the bandage was filled with a viscous liquid. Obviously, these are highly poisonous substances. Naruto said lightly, no one left alive. Swish. No one hesitated, not even the most timid Hinata. This is war, and as ninjas, they have already had the corresponding awareness. Only Sasuke didn't move, staying beside Naruto with his arms around his shoulders. Leave it to them, right? I'm going to Sanagakure first. Anyway, they have already torn their faces, and there is no need for me to hold back. Naruto nodded and said, no one can stop you in Sanagakure, you go, we will be there soon. Sasuke nodded, and the figure disappeared in a flash. Soon. Shikamaru and the others returned. Although they were not contaminated with bloodline, there was still a wave of blood lingering on them. Everyone had a murderous look on their faces. I have already asked, their purpose is indeed to poison. Shikamaru said lightly, originally he felt very troublesome about this match, but now he no longer has such thoughts on Friday. In the face of a real war, there is no trouble not to trouble such subjective things. Hinata's complexion was a bit ugly, apparently she wasn't particularly used to the 317th murder. But fortunately, she is still holding on. Sasuke set off first, let's catch up. Naruto smiled coldly. I think, you probably haven't vented enough anger in your heart yet. Everyone was silent. At the beginning, Shikamaru and the others followed Naruto. Even though they knew that Naruto was going to start a war, they still wanted to kill the enemy in the head, and then the enemy would surrender immediately. They never thought that Yin would carry out such an extreme behavior. This sounded a big alarm bell for them, and the tension in their hearts suddenly increased. At the same time, there was an unspeakable anger and fear emerging. If Neji didn't find these people, if they successfully sneaked into Konoha's territory, if they succeed in poisoning, they couldn't even imagine the consequences. This kind of fearful panic lingers in their hearts, making them panic. Naruto knew that at this time they had to do something to vent this emotion. And right now, Sanagakure is the best target out there. And Naruto believes that even if it is to vent, these little friends of his will not be murderous, at most they will just make some big scenes out. And fear requires various big scenes to support it. Let's follow. As Naruto said, he took the lead to catch up, and the others followed silently. Perhaps it was the flustered emotions that urged them to move faster than usual. But they still didn't catch up with Sasuke. It can be seen from this that Sasuke's impatience must have reached its limit. At this time, a peaceful Sanagakure, like the calm before the storm. The people in the village still don't know what will happen to this camp-like village. Sasuke's figure appeared outside Sanagakure. The line of defense behind him was completely ignored by him, and he directly pierced through it. The security personnel on the defense line did not find any trace of Sasuke at all. Today is a rare good weather for the scorching desert. The temperature is relatively mild, there is no wind and sand, and people are wandering on the street, enjoying the rare good weather. Sudden. A huge shadow blocked the sun, leaving them in a state of shock and panic. They turned their heads one after another, looking at the extremely tall black figure at the gate of the village. Their faces were dull. At this moment, they felt deep fear. It's an enemy attack. Someone reacted and let out a shrill cry. This sound seemed to turn on a switch. The space that was silent due to fear suddenly boiled. Everyone screamed in horror and ran crazily, away from the tall black shadow that looked terrifying at first sight. Baki, who had just sent people out and hadn't set off yet, rushed to the scene immediately, and immediately recognized the identity of this tall black shadow. It's that Uchiha kid. Baki gritted his teeth, having seen the horrific battle between Naruto and Sasuke with his own eyes. He knew exactly how terrifying the tall black figure in front of him was. Isn't Konoha's persuading letter just sent? How could someone come to attack so soon? Wait. Why is there no news from the front line of defense? Could it be? Baki thought the line of defense was directly annihilated. Little did they know that Sasuke just thought it was troublesome, so he rushed over as fast as he could, and the defense line didn't even notice Sasuke. Sasuke, who has activated the full-body Susanoo, looks down from above. The figures fleeing in a hurry in Sunagakure are as small as ants. Sasuke doesn't bother to kill ants. As an apex powerhouse, Sasuke has the pride of being a powerhouse. Sasuke's pride as Uchiha does not allow him to do such things as massacring common people. Create some movement first, let that Fengyin come out. Kazekage is the only one who can give Sasuke a glimpse of the entire Sunagakure. This time, Sasuke didn't use the ability of his own eyes, but the self-sword made of lightning that came with his own perfect body Susanoo. Raise your hand, and quickly strike horizontally. The entire Sunagakure wall was cut in half and collapsed. This scene immediately made the people of Sunagakure even more excited. Baki knew he was invincible, but as a Sunagakure ninja, he couldn't back down at this time. Behind him, after all, are the common people of Sunagakure. At first glance, Sasuke seems to have become a big villain. But when Naruto is preparing to launch a war and integrate the entire ninja world into one group, their image may be the biggest villain in the eyes of others. This kind of standpoint has undergone earth-shaking changes due to the angle of one's own stand. Stop him. Never let him go any further, Baki yelled loudly. We must protect the people in the village. The sand shinobi beside him were inspired one after another. Even though they knew that their attacks would not be effective against the enemy, they used their various moves one after another. Wind style great breakthrough, wind style harm. Wind style vacuum sphere. Wind style wind cut technique. A series of ninjutsu hit Susanoo's body, but there was not even a slight ripple. Sasuke turned a blind eye to the attacks of those ninjas, and couldn't even penetrate the defense, so why should he care? Sasuke just walked forward on his own, the 100-meter-high titan moved forward, and no one could stop his footsteps. The actions of Baki and others are doomed to be futile. Damn. Can't even delay. Baki was deeply desperate, watching the unstoppable Susanoo keep moving forward, destroying a large number of buildings with every step. At this moment, Wei Ji deeply understood what it means to be crushed and desperate. Not a single ray of hope. At this time, a large amount of gravel began to gather and flew to Zhengchun. The sun shone on these gravels and shone with a gold gleam. It's not common grit, it's gold dust. Seeing this scene, a gleam of hope suddenly flashed in Baki's eyes. It's Kazekage-sama. Kazekage-sama is here. Master Kazekage has made a move. We are saved. Go to hell, monster. Master Kazekage, quickly get rid of this monster. Sand shinobi ninjas all know what dust gold stands for. This means that they're Fengyin shot. Using magnet style to control the placer gold in the sand, this is an ability unique to Fengyin Luosha. Although magnet style was learned by Luo Sha from 3rd Kazekage, the ability to control placer gold was created by Luo Sha himself. And being able to control placer gold may also be the reason why Luo Sha is competent in Kazekage for reasons other than strength. Because the desert is too barren, not many supplies can be traded. Gold placer is one of the few important materials in the desert. At this moment, a large amount of placer gold gathered in the sky under the control of Luo Sha. Soon, it turned into a huge triangular cone-shaped object. It looks like a small pyramid. Get out of here. Luo Sha stepped on gold dust under his feet, floating in the air, shouting angrily. The small gold placer pyramid smashed towards Susanoo with heavy weight and great force. The speed is fast, but Sasuke is faster. The thunder sword in his hand disappeared in a flash, and the entire placer pyramid was cut in half. After that, several white lights flashed in succession, and the placer gold pyramid was disintegrated directly. Luo Sha watched in disbelief. How come? This move can be said to be Luo Sha's strongest move. He has used this tactic many times to suppress the rampage one-tail Shuhei, trying to seal Shuhei. But now, his strongest move is so easily deciphered by others. This huge gap is difficult for Luo Sha, who is Fengyin, to accept for a while. Sasuke dealt with Luo Sha's attack casually, and found that Luo Sha was standing there sluggishly, and couldn't help frowning slightly. What's the matter? Is this the end? The disappointment in the words is palpable. Luo Sha's cheeks flushed immediately. Of course not, the monster. Luo Sha roared, crazily activated chakra in his body, and controlled more gold dust to form a huge gold dust storm, enveloping Susanoo. Seeing this scene, the Sand Shinobi ninja immediately cheered. They thought that Luo Sha had already dealt with the monster-like enemy. But in the next second, their cheers came to an abrupt end like ducks being strangled. The flaming Uzumaki dispelled the gold dust storm, and the scorching temperature seemed to drain the surrounding moisture in an instant. People who get closer can even feel suffocated by it. And in the sky, because of this sudden temperature change, dark clouds that can't be seen even a few times a year have condensed. That's the trick. Baki recognized the move immediately. Exactly the move Sasuke used when fighting Naruto at the last moment. Unlimited power. People must escape as soon as possible. Baki is well aware of the wide-ranging implications of this move. It is basically impossible to block it, no matter how confident he is in his own Fengyin. This move made a huge impression on Baki. Baki immediately turned around, shouted and dragged a few slow runners to flee at high speed. Run. Find cover. Baki has seen Sasuke's move, and Luo Sha, who has also watched the battle, naturally knows it well. Luo Sha immediately mobilized the dispelled gold dust storms, gathered them together, and formed an extremely thick gold dust wall, trying to block Sasuke's attack. But obviously, Luo Sha overestimated herself and underestimated Sasuke. Thunder gathered in the dark clouds. Following, Sasuke raised the thunder light great sword to the top of his head, and then cut it down with one sword. The huge thunderbolt Kilin poked its head out from the dark clouds, and then bombarded Luosha's gold dust wall with an incomparable gesture of madness. Bang! There was a loud bang, and the entire ground trembled, as if an earthquake had occurred. Everyone fell to the ground, unable to even stand still. And the moment Sasuke's attack landed, Luo Sha knew that his defense was completely useless. The placer gold wall immediately began to melt under the high temperature of thunder. The surrounding buildings are also collapsing. The offensive lasted for more than 10 breaths before the tremors slowly stopped. When this earth-shattering attack was over, Luo Sha slowly opened his eyes, and then his face was dull. Under this move, half of Sanagakure was destroyed. But apart from a few unlucky ones, not many people died because of this trick. Because the target of Sasuke's attack is the gold dust wall of Luosha, the collapse of the surrounding houses is only affected. Sasuke allowed enough time for Sanagakure's civilians to escape before attacking. Before coming, Naruto made it very clear. They are for conquest, not slaughter. Sasuke also doesn't like the massacre of civilians, it will only tarnish the honor in his heart. Looking at Luo Sha sluggishly kneeling on the ground, he stared blankly at the half-destroyed Sanagakure. Sasuke knew that his goal had been achieved. Immediately Sasuke relieved Susanoo. And at this time, Naruto et al. Are also long overdue. It seems that you have made a big fuss. Naruto looked around and said. Have you enjoyed yourself? Sasuke pouted and said. Too weak. I don't know if I'm talking about Sanagakure or Kazekage Rasa. Or maybe both. In terms of the size of the 5 major countries, Sanagakure is indeed too weak. Naruto nodded in acknowledgement, then stepped forward and said to Luo Sha. How? Do you still want to continue to resist Claw? Luo Sha turned her gaze blankly, looking at Naruto's eyes without focus. Obviously, this series of blows was a little bit hard on Luo Sha, and he still hasn't recovered yet. Naruto sighed and said, if you still want to unite with other ninja villages, I advise you to forget it. Naruto looked behind him, behind Xiao Li and others. There were several Sand Shinobi ninjas who were tied up. This is the person Neji and Hinata found when they came. According to the direction in which these Sand Shinobi ninjas were heading, Naruto immediately judged Kazekage Rasa's plan. Give up, you have already failed, and the Kingdom of Wind has also been defeated. Naruto stood in front of Fengyin Luosha, and the shadow-covered Luosha. Luo Sha saw that those men who were sent out to contact other ninja villages were caught, and knew that their Sanagakure was doomed. You won. Let's do it. Luo Sha closed her eyes, no longer resisting. He has no strength to resist. The strongest strike combo was easily cracked by Sasuke. This huge gap in strength is far from being comparable to relying on numbers. Do you think I'm a butcher? Naruto smiled and said. I came here to conquer, not to slaughter. Killing you doesn't mean anything to me. Luo Sha looked up in surprise and said, can you still let us go? It's hard for Luo Sha to imagine. After all, Luo Sha is also Kazekage, fighting to the last moment for Sanagakure. Even if his strength is weak, he still has a high prestige in Sanagakure. If Naruto wants to conquer Sanagakure, wouldn't it be the best way to fool him, the most prestigious person? Before that, I hope you can listen to my thoughts. Naruto said with a smile. What do you think of the current ninja world? Luo Sha frowned suddenly. He instinctively felt that there was something in Naruto's words, which could not be answered simply. But for a while, Luo Sha couldn't judge what Naruto meant. Naruto didn't have Luo Sha's idea of answering, so he said directly. The ninja world is very peaceful now, but only in a few countries. The less powerful countries are still being exploited, and war has never disappeared from this continent. And my idea is very simple, that is to unify the entire ninja world and directly eliminate the source of war. Luo Sha widened her eyes in shock and subconsciously said. It's impossible. No matter how strong you are, it's impossible to fight against the entire ninja world. Yeah. Naruto smiled, not commenting on Isa's question. After all, Luo Sha never saw Naruto's full strength. As for the previous battle with Sasuke, it was not at Naruto's limit at all. I have no intention of causing more killing, I conquer for the sake of peace. Naruto said lightly. You can be a witness to this and see if I can do it. Luo Sha looked at Naruto deeply, then lowered his head. If you can do it, if real peace can come. I am very happy to lead all the desert people to submit to your rule. Luo Sha's words clearly indicate surrender to Naruto. Because Luo Sha didn't care about the third generation at all. If not Naruto, but Sasuke, who was third generation. Naruto nodded in satisfaction, and then Xiao Li and the others released the trapped people. In that case, from today onwards, the Kingdom of Wind will officially merge into the territory of the Nation of Fire and accept the jurisdiction of the Nation of Fire. As for the name of the so-called Kingdom of Wind, I hope he will not be ignorant of flattery. Luo Sha raised his head, a fierce light flashed in his eyes. He will have no complaints. Naruto was more satisfied. Afterwards, Naruto took the people away, as if he didn't care whether Luo Sha would go back on his word. And Luo Sha was also hesitating. But after a while, the hesitation turned into firmness. Anyway, they lost Sanagakure. Of course, Luo Sha doesn't care even if he regrets the infamy now. Luo Sha only cares about Sanagakure's future. But Luo Sha also wants to see whether the future that Naruto said can come. As the shadow of a village, Luo Sha is too aware of what a cruel world this ninja world is. Under the seemingly calm water surface, I don't know how much darkness and filth are hidden. My lord, what should we do? Baki leaned over and asked in a low voice. Now they are leaving like this, if we take the opportunity to send people to inform other ninja villages. Need not. Luo Sha said lightly. Follow me to meet the daimyo. Baki was taken aback for a moment, then realized Luo Sha's thoughts, and his expression changed drastically. My lord, do you want to? Luo Sha looked at the direction where Naruto and others were leaving, with erratic eyes. I have a hunch that the atmosphere of the entire ninja world is about to change. Shall we just leave like this? Asked with a puzzled tooth. If they go back on their word, or secretly unite with other ninja villages. Don't worry, they won't. Shikamaru put his head in his hands and said. If it was Feng Ying before, maybe he would really have this idea, but he definitely doesn't think so now. Why? It can be seen from his eyes that he is obviously yearning for the future depicted by Naruto. Neji frowned. Just for an illusory future, does he dare to gamble the future of the entire Sanagakure and even the Kingdom of Wind? Anyway, he has nothing to lose. Naruto smiled and said. If I don't do it, he can naturally go back on his word. Anyway, no one will be able to stop him at that time. But if I do it, then he will not have the idea of regretting it, but will actively integrate into the future family and continue to seek benefits for the entire Sanagakure. Although he is not qualified as a father, but as a movie star, he is still very competent. Even if it wasn't for him, I'm afraid Sanagakure would have already fallen apart. Just a weak person. Sasuke curled his lips in disdain. Sasuke, who is power-oriented, won't use those who have and don't. He only cares about finding the traitor Itachi as soon as possible. Then he killed the traitor who turned his back on Uchiha's glory with his own hands. By the way, Lee, you are the fastest, go back to the village and report back what happened here. Then set off to the country of water to wait for us, and we will meet there. Naruto said. Xiao Li patted his chest. I will handle it. After finishing speaking, he was about to leave, and his impatient nature was fully exposed. But was stopped by Naruto. Wait, don't forget to tell Grandpa third generation after you go back, and send a letter of persuasion to the Kingdom of Water. Xiao Li nodded, and was about to step away when he suddenly stopped in doubt. Wait, if I go back to the village first, and then go to the country of water, wouldn't it be faster for those of you who go directly? Why did you make me wait for you? Naruto said with a smile. Because we're going to do something along the way. Since we want to unify the entire ninja world, naturally those small countries are also within our goal. Xiao Li's face suddenly collapsed. Are you not taking me? Naruto said comfortingly. Don't worry, you will definitely have a good time in the future. Xiao Li's eyes suddenly lit up. Real? Naruto said with a smile. Of course it's true. That's a deal. Xiao Li said excitedly, and then stomped heavily on the ground. The sky was filled with dust, and Xiao Li rushed out at an extremely fast speed. The reason why Naruto asked Xiao Li to report the letter was naturally because Xiao Ji's speed was the fastest besides him. Even Sasuke is just as good as Xiao Li, maybe even slower. Where is the next goal? Shikamaru asked curiously. The nearest place should be Tango country, right? Naruto nodded. Yes, it is a small country, but there is a relatively famous religious organization there. My goal is to eradicate that cult, conquer Tang Yin village, and then make the daimyo of Tang Kingdom surrender. Grinding his teeth, he said with a smile on his face. Since it's a cult, there's no need to have any scruples. Let's go now, I can't wait. Seeing that Sasuke subdued the entire Sanagakure by himself not only made Xiao Li excited, but also the others couldn't wait. But they didn't have time to show their strengths in Sanagakure, which made them quite disappointed. Now that they have a goal that they can fight freely, they are naturally full of enthusiasm. Only Sasuke pouted, showing no interest at all. It's just a little-known village, so he's not interested. The country of soup is next to the country of fire. In the northeast of the country of fire, it is a natural hot spring area. During the war, the fighting power of the Tang Kingdom was very strong, but with the reduction of the war and the reduction of funds by the daimyo, the combat effectiveness of the entire Tang Kingdom weakened rapidly. And because of its geographical location, it has become a tourist attraction. This is a ninja village that advocates peace. But in this country, the cruel and bloodthirsty evil god religion appeared. Hidan of the Akatsuki organization was born in Tangian village, but because he couldn't bear the peace of Tangian village, he killed the people around him and became rebellious, and then he was taught by evil god to conduct secret art research, and obtained evil god's power as immortality. After entering the country of soup, Naruto directly divided into two groups. Sasuke, you take Shino, Choji, Shikamaru and Neji to teach evil god. The rest of the people followed me to find Tangian village. Whoever finishes first will go to the daimyo of the country of soup. A group of people move separately. Tangian village is a tourist attraction, it is not difficult for me. Naruto quickly found his target. Under the warm hospitality of the people of Tangian village, Naruto directly found the current leader of Tangian village. Because it is a small ninja village, the leaders of these ninja villages dare not call themselves shadows. Can only be called the leader. Are you the famous Uzumaki Naruto? The leader of Tangian village said with a smile. I don't know what the distinguished guest from Konoha is looking for me for. I want the country of soup to be incorporated into the territory of the country of fire. Naruto said very simply. Don't try to resist, you should know that I can easily destroy this place. Don't make me do this. The smiling face of the leader of Tangian village disappeared and became cloudy. Apparently all sorts of thoughts were racing through his mind. But before the news of the Chunin exam spread throughout the ninja world, even if he did not send anyone from Tangian village to participate, now he knows that the boy in front of him is an existence that they must not provoke. You really gave me a big problem, the leader of Tangian village said with a wry smile. We've been out of battle for so long that we've forgotten how to fight. The leader of Tangian village said with a sigh. So, we will submit to the leadership of Konoha village. But before that, can I know the purpose of your doing this? The leader of Tangian village looked at Naruto with scorching eyes, and the hidden meaning in the words was very clear. What he asked was Naruto's purpose, not Konoha's or third generation's purpose. This is a smart one, Naruto said calmly. Naturally, for the permanent elimination of war. The leader of Tangian village frowned and said, "Are you planning to unify the entire ninja world? But what's the point of doing this? When the entire ninja world is unified, what should the ninjas who can only survive in a world of disputes do? Even if you can rule for a while with your strength, it is impossible to rule forever." Naruto smiled confidently and said, "That's because you didn't find the right way." In Naruto's view, using ninjutsu only in battle is a waste of chakra's tens of millions of energy. If he can complete his rule, there are countless ways that Naruto can use chakra to improve the quality of life of the entire ninja world. It's a pity that even if he speaks out now, no one will understand him. Only when they really see the results of Naruto's deeds with their own eyes, will they willingly give up the current days of licking blood and embrace the new love. Looking at Naruto's confident appearance, the leader of Tangian village doesn't know why, but since he has got Naruto's answer, he will abide by what he said. "I will lead everyone to submit to the leadership of Konoha village, but I cannot influence the will of Daimyofu." The leader of Tangian village said, "If you really plan to unify the entire ninja world, I'm afraid these daimyos and nobles will be your biggest obstacles." "Don't worry, I have my own way," Naruto smiled. "The ninjas in Tangian village are not strong enough, so naturally they can't let them solve it by themselves like Sanagakure. So Naruto decided to do it himself. Moreover, the names and nobles in this world are similar. A little research can find out a lot of dirty things behind their backs. When the time comes to distinguish who can stay and who can't, just simply and rudely destroy the ruling class of the entire country. But in this way, after the news of the Wind Country and the Tang Country spread, all countries in the entire ninja world will clearly understand Naruto's true purpose. Even a daimyo from the Land of Fire would be full of fear towards him, and would even instigate a ninja from Konoha village to give him a backstab. But Naruto is not worried at all about Konoha village messing with him. Even if Danzo and others can jump again, they cannot succeed. After all, Naruto not only has a brigade of 3,000 clones secretly guarding the Konoha border, but also has two most loyal allies, Uchiha and Hyuga. With the support of these two Konoha nobles, Naruto doesn't need to worry at all. "It's over here, let's go to Daming Mansion first," Naruto said to Hinata and the others. "I hope that the daimyo of the country of soup can be more familiar, so that we don't have to spend some unnecessary effort." Hinata and the others looked terrified, obviously understood what they were going to do next from Naruto's understatement. Even though they were prepared in their hearts, they were still a little nervous at this time. After all, daimyo and nobles are not ninjas, but common people without power. It's different from the ninja they faced before. Naruto conquered Tangian village without any obstruction, so he quickly turned around and headed towards Daming Mansion. On the other hand, Sasuke took a lot of effort to find the hidden evil god teaching through Neji's eyes. There are more than 30 people, quite a number, but judging from Chakra's reaction, they are not strong. Neji carefully observed the situation of all the enemies and said, "Everyone be careful," Shino said cautiously. "I remember what Naruto said. The weasel taught by the evil god is a very evil secret art, and the blood must not be taken away, otherwise it will be life-threatening." Sasuke frowned and said, "When did he say that?" "I do not know how." Shikamaru put his head in his hands and said nonchalantly, "When you were practicing together yesterday, you were only focusing on your own cultivation, and you didn't come here at all. In short, it is a very evil secret technique, just don't get your blood taken away, otherwise things will become very troublesome." "Call. Trouble." Sasuke pursed his lips, then stretched out his hand and swung it abruptly. Out of nowhere a titan arm of blue appeared, wielding a great sword with lightning. With a sweep of the sword, the cave where the evil god cult was hiding was cut in half. The originally hidden evil god members were suddenly exposed. "There are no decent guys, these people will be handed over to you." Sasuke saw at a glance that there were no strong people here, and immediately lost interest. "Originally, I wondered if I could meet a strong man named Zhao. The result is these crooked melons and dates. Can't you discuss a plan?" Shikamaru said speechlessly. Isn't this a waste of his extraordinary IQ? At this time, the exposed evil god members recovered from the shock. "The mountain is split. Who actually did it? Is Lord Evil God angry? Lord Evil God, please calm down. We will definitely gather enough sacrifices as soon as possible. Forgive us, Lord Evil God." A group of timid guys knelt on the ground and kowtowed continuously, worshipping a strange stone statue. There were also some people who felt something was wrong and looked around. Soon, they found Sasuke and others who were standing carelessly and showing no hidden intentions. Who are you? This is the Evil God sect. How dare you disturb the resting place of Lord Evil God? I think you are courting death. Brothers, give it to me. Although it is not the sacrifice that Lord Evil God needs, but the guy who offended Lord Evil God must not be forgiven. Come on. Encouraged by a few people, those who were still in a panic suddenly found their backbone, and rushed towards Sasuke and others like crazy. However, Sasuke et al. Did not intend to move. Just watched them rushing silently. However, in the middle of the rush, these evil god cultists suddenly froze in place, with terrified expressions on their faces. They found that they could not move. Crowd imitation succeeded. Shikamaru said calmly, "The rest is up to you, avoid direct physical contact with them." Seeing that Shikamaru had the situation under control, Shino immediately released his parasite. Self-explosive parasites crawled all over the bodies of these cultists. With Jinao's thoughts moving, the violent roaring sound was heard all of a sudden. Everyone watched silently, and Sun Dian didn't show any signs of embarrassment. Because, at the scene they have seen several people who were brutally murdered. It should be the offering just mentioned by these evil god cult members. For this kind of scum who cruelly kills others, Sasuke and the others will not hold back anything. The battle ended quickly, or it couldn't be called a battle at all. Just one-sided massacre. When the explosion that lasted several minutes disappeared, there was no longer any member of the evil god cult in place. Okay, let's go. Sasuke turned around and left without looking back. It's just a bunch of scum in the world, don't need to pay too much attention to it. Others followed and headed towards Daming Mansion. When Sasuke and the others came to Daming Prefecture, they saw that Naruto and his party had already arrived. And the battle is not small. In front of Naruto, a dozen people were kneeling and sitting in a row. The clothes on their bodies are gorgeous, and they are obviously rich or expensive. But at this moment, they were kneeling in front of Naruto like animals, trembling and showing despair. What are you doing? Sasuke frowned slightly. Just kill this kind of rubbish. Sasuke understood that the rich and expensive guys in front of him must have been investigated by Naruto, and they were all guys with serious crimes. In Sasuke's view, this kind of person should be killed directly, and it is not worth wasting time at all. It's easy to simply kill them, but at least squeeze out all the value. Naruto said lightly. They sit in high positions and they are constantly sucking up the wealth of this country. And it doesn't make any sense to keep the money in their treasury. It's better to let me accept it, and I can use it in the future. Sasuke frowned slightly and said, "If you want money, Uchiha also has business. You should save your money." Naruto waved his hand and said, "The wealth I need is an astronomical figure, and it is not enough for you to provide. Next, this kind of thing will go through many times, and I will leave it to you." Sasuke looked blank. "Give me what?" Of course they are asking about the whereabouts of those wealth. Naruto said as a matter of course, "It's enough to cast illusions casually, it's not a big problem for you, is it?" Sasuke opened his mouth, then curled his lips and nodded. Although there are some suspicions of using cannons to fight mosquitoes, this is undoubtedly the fastest method. Soon, Sasuke got the whereabouts of all the wealth these people hid. And these people who have lost their value are naturally destroyed by humanity. Okay, it's time to discuss with the daimyo of this country. Naruto handed over the collection of wealth to Sasuke and the others, and came to Daimyo Prefecture by himself. The ninjas guarding the daimyo were easily dealt with, and they didn't even disturb the daimyo of the Tang dynasty who was drinking and eating meat. Boom. With a loud bang, the sliding door was directly knocked into the air. The appearance of Naruto made the voice in the room quiet down. "Who are you? Do you know where this is? Guard, guard, catch this guy and behead him." In the innermost place, a guy with a pig head and a fat brain let out a cry like a pig. Naruto looked at the situation in the room, and some half-dressed dancers were shivering and hiding aside. In addition to the daimyo, there were other people in the room. At this moment, everyone frowned and looked at Naruto with disgust. Obviously, they didn't realize what was going to happen next. Naruto raised his eyebrows when he saw that there were people other than the daimyo. "I didn't expect that there would be fish that slipped through the net, and Sasuke will have to do his best when the time comes." Guards. Where did the guards go? The fat pig was still screaming. Naruto frowned slightly. "It's noisy." With a wave of his hand, an invisible force passed across Fat Pig's body silently. Suddenly, the world fell silent. Immediately afterwards, there was the sound of blood spraying, and the sound of other people screaming in horror. "It's all quiet," Naruto said lightly. The Shizune key seemed to be darkened in the room. Everyone covered their mouths hard, not daring to make a sound. Naruto looked around casually, and then said, "From today, the Kingdom of Tang will be formally merged into the Kingdom of Fire and become the territory of the Kingdom of Fire. Does anyone have any objections?" Everyone shook their heads wildly. They didn't want to die, and even if they had opinions, they didn't dare to raise them. Approaching Naruto, he killed the daimyo casually. Obviously, these 7 guys who are not as good as the daimyo will definitely not let Naruto stop the attack. "That's good." Naruto nodded in satisfaction and said, "First of all, you temporarily elect a person in charge to temporarily manage the affairs of Tang Kingdom. I will reappoint a new manager at a later date. Of course, you don't have any thoughts of escaping from here. Because a curse has been planted on your body. As long as I think about it. Do you see that stone?" Naruto pointed to the stones outside the house, and a blasting technique in the air immediately turned the rockery in the courtyard into a mess. "So, don't have any bad thoughts, if you want to live." Everyone nodded hurriedly. Naruto left satisfied. There are still many countries to conquer. Naruto didn't care if these people would regret it later. At worst, go back and deal with it again. It doesn't take more than a few minutes. Now the first thing to get done is the 5 major countries. But after all this time, presumably the other 5 kingdoms should already know what happened in the Kingdom of Wind, right? Kirigakure, the land of water. Since the Chunin exam, the Jazz have been in a state of anxiety. The strength Naruto showed was too shocking, and Obito couldn't think of how to defeat such Naruto. Obviously, the plan has not started yet, but it has encountered the biggest obstacle. After all, the 9 tails inside Naruto were part of the plan too. Now, how could it be possible to extract 9 tails from Naruto's body? Impossible. How can I do? Obito scratched his head frantically, but couldn't figure it out at all. At this time, a voice came from outside the door. "Mizukage-sama, there is urgent information." Obito immediately hid, and Yagura answered, controlling the citrus. "Come in." The door was pushed open, and a darkly dressed person stepped forward and handed over a piece of paper. "Citrus," Yagura said after taking it. "You can go down now." "Yes." Ambu nodded, then left the room and closed the door behind him. Then Obito came out from the darkness, took the paper from Yagura's hand, and quickly read it. However, after reading it, Obito's eyes widened in shock. What? Did Naruto lead someone to attack the land of wind? The Kingdom of Wind is now the territory of the Kingdom of Fire? What on earth is it? Obito was in deep shock. He never expected that Naruto would make such a big commotion just after the Chunin exam. This news is really amazing. Obito couldn't imagine the turmoil that this news would cause to the entire ninja world. Although, the chaotic situation has hindered the plan of Shao organization. But this is obviously not the case now. Obito can hardly sleep without figuring out what Naruto wants to do. What the hell are you trying to do? Obito's eyes widened, and then he saw the message that Naruto was leading the team towards the land of water. Now Obito was completely taken aback. It's actually coming towards us? Could it be that Naruto guy wants to unify the 5 major countries? Obito didn't guess right. After all, what Naruto wants to unify is the entire ninja world. All countries must be united. No, someone must be sent to stop him. Obito's eyes rolled sharply, and he began to think of a way. But there is obviously no one in Kirigakure who can stop Naruto. It doesn't matter. Stop Naruto for me. Naruto's plan must not be allowed to succeed. Obito went all out, and directly controlled the Wolfberry Doctor to issue orders. Immediately, Mist Shinobi Anbu, who received the order, started to act and went to stop Naruto and others. Iwagakure, the land of earth. The same information also fell into the hands of Onoki. You actually made a move at this time. Onoki frowned deeply. Even if it was his Iwagakure, it would take a long war to eliminate Sanagakure. How long has it been since the Chunin exam? The Kingdom of Wind has been merged into the territory of the Kingdom of Fire. This speed is simply unbelievable. Huang Tu looked at his father worriedly. Father. Master Tsuchikage, what should we do? The other Jonin were also looking at Onogi, waiting for his decision. Onoki frowned and looked at the information in front of him solemnly. Information shows that Naruto and the others continue to march towards the land of water, which means that Naruto's footsteps will not stop easily. No. We can't sit still. Onoki immediately took out a piece of paper and began to write superstitions by hand. Wangtu, this letter is from you personally to that muscular idiot Raikage, tell him the current form. I believe there are smart people on Cloud Shinobi, and we need to unite next. With the strength of a single village, it is absolutely impossible to stop Naruto's footsteps. We must unite, otherwise the Land of Winds will be our end. Huang too turned out to be superstitious, but he still looked worried. What about Kirigakure? Don't you need an alliance there? Onoki shook his head and said, it's too late, Naruto is already on his way. Unless Mizukage can lead people back directly, their fate is already doomed. And Mizukage feels weird to me, let's not get too involved. Huang too nodded, and set off immediately with superstition. Onogi looked at the Jonins in the office and said with a solemn expression. Get ready. We will usher in the cruelest war in the world. This is a war with an extremely slim chance of winning, but we must not give up. For our family, for our village, people from Konoha must not be allowed to step here. Defend the village to the death. Following Onoji's loud shout, the Jonins immediately followed with a loud shout. Defend the village to the death. The crowd is passionate, even if the enemy they face is difficult to defeat. At this moment, the sense of belonging to the village made them make a decision. Seeing this scene, Onoki nodded slowly, and the anxiety in his heart calmed down a little. At least, people's hearts are available. I hope Kirigakure can last a little longer. Onoki put his hands together and prayed, at least give us enough time. I must not sit back and watch Iwagakure fall into my hands. Thunder Country Cloud Shinobi Village, boom. In front of the broken table was an extremely angry Raikage Eye. Impossible. This news must be false. In Ai's hand was a piece of torn paper. He couldn't believe that the Kingdom of Wind, one of the 5 great nations, was defeated in such a short period of time, and even joined the territory of the Kingdom of Fire. Back then, they had gone through 3 ninja world wars, but apart from casualties and material losses, they didn't lose much territory at all. Is it that they don't want to? It's because you can't. There are many aspects involved in the battle between the 5 great ninja villages. Raikage Eye himself is an ambitious guy who has been aiming to annex other ninja villages, making Cloud Shinobi Village the most powerful ninja village, surpassing Konoha. But the reality is that Konoha always wins, and Raikage is envious of Konoha's talents. However, after the reference war, the territory of each country has not changed much. This made it hard for Ai to accept that Naruto actually surrendered one of the 5 major countries in just a few days. Master Raikage, please calm down, Mabui said calmly. Information has been spread throughout the ninja world, there will be no mistakes. So the current situation is very urgent, and we must think of a countermeasure as soon as possible. I didn't understand. What is the emergency? What countermeasures do you want? Darui said helplessly. Master Raikage, didn't you see that the newspaper said that people were heading for Yuanyan village? Ai shook his head and said. No, as soon as he saw the Kingdom of Wind surrender, Ai smashed the information to pieces angrily. Naturally he didn't read the following words. But Ai is not an idiot after all. After hearing this sentence, he understood what they meant. The situation is indeed critical. Ai, who is also an ambitious man, knows what it means for Naruto not to stop. If he dares to come, I will let him die here. Ai clamored angrily. Although he was very afraid of Naruto's power, Ai was also a very proud person and would not give up easily. Killer Bee spread his hands and said, Brother, I can't beat him. Ai rolled his eyes and said, Do you think I can fight? I mean together. There's no way he could face all of us and win. Since that old man Onoki was able to kill Laozi with human sea tactics, I will use energy to kill Naruto. Killer Bee shook his head and said, Brother, this is not realistic. You saw it back then, if Naruto made a move with all his might, our village would simply disappear. Aten fell silent for a moment, fluttering. With the sound of flapping wings, Pain, who closed his eyes to feel the rain, opened them. Any news about the tailed beast? Pain asked without thinking. He doesn't need to look back either. Conan is the only one who can make this kind of voice and appear behind Pain. No, but Conan's complexion became a little ugly. Here is an intelligence report, you need to take a look. Pain looked back suspiciously, and saw Conan with a serious face, holding a piece of information that was gradually wet by the rain in his hand. At a critical moment when their plan is about to start, why would Conan bring irrelevant information over? In other words, this information is related to them, and judging from Conan's face, the connection with them is not shallow. With doubts, Payne opened the information and checked it carefully. Initially, Payne narrowed his eyes subconsciously, realizing the importance of this information. But as he continued to read, Payne's eyes continued to widen, and he also understood the connection between this information and them. Is this information true? Payne raised his head subconsciously, wanting to confirm the accuracy of this information. Conan nodded heavily and said nothing, but her expression said it all. Payne's face immediately became gloomy. Who's still here now? Conan said immediately. Everyone is here except for Kakuzu and Kakuzu. Kakuzu went to the underground black market to find the trace of the tailed beast. It's a big deal to call them all into the lobby. After Payne gave his instructions, he immediately set off towards the secret base organized by Akatsuki. Conan also spread the white paper wings on his back and soared into the sky. After a few minutes, everyone in the Akatsuki organization except Zetsu and Kakuzu gathered in the hall of the secret base. The others didn't know what was going on, and thought they were finally going to start their plans. Hidan said excitedly. Are we finally going to start? Who's the first target? Is it that dark circle from Senagakure? I think that target is the weakest, just leave it to me. Deidara squinted at him and said disdainfully. It's up to you. Forget it. You don't even have a partner now, so leave this matter to me and Boss Shie. Besides, the boss Scorpion is Senagakure's rebellious ninja, so he must be very familiar with Ri. If we make a move, it will definitely be sure. The two young people seemed very excited, but the others noticed that something seemed wrong from the silent to even ugly faces of Payne and Conan. Hoshigaki Kisame asked dryly. What happened? Suddenly called us all over. Payne said lightly. The plan was cancelled. Hidan's eyes widened suddenly, with an expression of disbelief. What? The plan was cancelled. Why? Shut up, brat. Shie said viciously, with a strong killing intent. Apparently Scorpio was not in a very good mood. Payne glanced at Scorpion and said, It seems that you already know the news. Scorpion did not respond, but silence is the best answer. The others looked at the two for no reason, and then looked at Payne waiting for an answer. Payne did not continue to pretend to be deep, but told the news he had just received. Konoha attacked and defeated Senagakure, and now the Kingdom of Wind has been incorporated into the territory of the Nation of Fire. What? Everyone who got the news for the first time widened their eyes. Even Itachi, who had been taciturn, looked shocked. That's one of the 5 great nations, Kisame said in disbelief. Even if the comprehensive strength of the Kingdom of Wind has always been evaluated as the weakest, it should not be underestimated. It's only been a few days since the Chunin exam? Konoha won? Scorpion said in a hoarse voice. It's a fact, and believe it or not, it happened. No wonder you're not in a good mood, Scorpio. Deidara looked at Scorpion with pity in his eyes. Although he is already rebellious, he still has unspeakable feelings for the village where he grew up. If Deidara is allowed to attack Iwagakure, to be honest, Deidara himself doesn't know if he can do it. Shut up if you can't speak. Shie gave Deidara a cold look and said. If you don't know how to use it, I'll give it to you. Deidara immediately covered her mouth, shaking her head again and again to express her disapproval. Itachi asked suddenly. The Land of Wind was annexed by the Land of Fire, so what does it have to do with our plan? That's right. Hidan yelled loudly. They fight each other. What does it have to do with us? We're just going to capture those tail beasts. Because we don't have much time left, Payne said slowly. The person leading the operation this time is Uzumaki Naruto, and they are heading towards the Land of Water. After a pause, Payne continued. Their footsteps have just begun, and their purpose is also clear at a glance. And it's not just the 5 big countries, even those small countries, they didn't let go. As he spoke, Payne's eyes fell on Hidan. The new daimyo of the land of Tang also announced that he has joined the territory of the Land of Fire, and the evil god religion has been wiped out in one fell swoop. Hidan's eyes widened suddenly. Impossible. Laozi is still here. The evil god cult has not been destroyed. Conan said. But the evil god religion in Tang country has disappeared. Maybe you are the only one who believes in God. Hidan immediately gritted his teeth vigorously, making a piercing sound. I must kill those bastards. You can't, idiot. Deidara gloated at Hidan. Do you think you can beat Uzumaki Naruto? Don't think so. Why not? Hidan said loudly. As long as I get his blood, I can kill anyone. The key is, can you get it? Deidara's face was still full of sarcasm. I'm afraid you can't even get close? Hidan was silent now. Thinking of Naruto's Nine Tails mode, he really can't help it. After all, what Hidan is good at is physical arts and his secret arts. It is basically impossible to break through the Nine Tails mode and get Naruto's blood. Okay, the plan is officially cancelled. Pain interrupted their argument. Now our goal is to stop Uzumaki Naruto in his footsteps. For our goals, we must not allow them to succeed, and it is worth paying any price for this. Just kill Uzumaki Naruto. Everyone's eyes froze. They all know how difficult this matter is, but with Pain around, they didn't think it was impossible. After all, Pain has the Rinnegan that only Sage of Six Paths in Legendary has. Fire Nation, Konoha Village, Hokage Office. Looking at the scrupulous watermelon-headed boy in front of him, Third Generation had a wry smile on his face. I didn't expect that you really succeeded. Lee followed Naruto's instructions and said, Grandpa Hokage, Naruto hopes that you can send the letter of persuasion to Kirigakure and other ninja villages. Third Generation sighed and said, well, I see, you have worked hard, go down and have a rest first. No, I can't rest just yet. Xiao Li shook his head and refused, he still needs to go to Kirigakure to wait for Naruto and the others. At this point in time, Naruto and the others are still on their way to Tango Country. After all, if you want to go to the country of soup, you need to go through the whole Konoha. According to Xiao Li's estimate, at the speed of Naruto and the others, after Xiao Li goes to the border of Kirigakure, he only needs to wait for less than a day. Therefore, Xiao Li naturally cannot waste this precious free time. After all, after going to Kirigakure alone, once the people of Kirigakure find him, Xiao Li must fight the people of Zunian village in order to stay. That was what Xiao Li was looking forward to. Unleash your power freely. So, after refusing to take a break, Xiao Li left the Hokage office directly, leaving only the stunned Third Generation behind. Looking at the back of Xiao Li leaving in a hurry, Third Generation shook his head helplessly. It was carved out of the same mold as Might Guy, isn't really Might Guy's child? Third Generation is deeply suspicious. If it is not known that Might Guy is not married, Third Generation is sure that Xiao Li and Might Guy are a father and son. Turning around, Third Generation looked at the peaceful village outside the window with his hands behind his back, full of emotions in his heart. The war is about to begin. Next, it's time to test us. Third Generation's eyes froze, and he knew that this matter was inevitable. In order to prevent the village from being in crisis, he must always be on guard against possible enemy attacks. When the news of the Kingdom of Wind spreads, as long as they are smart people, they will know what Konoha wants to do. If those smart people don't want to sit still, they will definitely unite and form a coalition to fight against Konoha. In other words, Konoha will be the enemy of the entire ninja world. Thinking of this, Medei's heart trembled, but Naruto gave him a lot of confidence. That's why Third Generation agreed with Naruto to try. If Naruto really did it, then Third Generation has accomplished something that even First Hokage failed to do. This is enough to make Third Generation's heart full of motivation. However, Naruto is out fighting. As Hokage, he also needs to ensure the unity of the village. And there is only one biggest resistance business in the village. Danzo, I'm sorry, but this is a big deal, the Third Generation said with a sigh. So, don't think about getting into trouble. Otherwise, I'll just let you unload it. Whoosh. An Anbu appears, but Third Generation frowned. What's up? Anbu lowered his head and said. He who has roots wants to see you. Third Generation is even more confused. Let him in. Soon, an Anbu member walked in. It was one of Danzo's right-hand men, Aburame, who took root. It's you. What happened? Seeing Aburame take root himself, Third Generation immediately realized that something was wrong. Aburame's complexion is also very ugly. Master Hokage, Master Danzo. Aburame didn't know how to explain Danzo's situation, so he said helplessly. The specific situation can only be seen by you. Third Generation frowned deeply. He wondered if this was another plot by Danzo. Back then, after the death of Namikaze Minato, when the Third Generation went to Daimyofu to take over the position of Hokage again, Danzo sent people from the roots to assassinate him. This time, Danzo's subordinates suddenly appeared, and they asked him to go to the root headquarters in such an eager manner, which is really suspicious. Maybe there are many traps waiting for him there. But Third Generation still had to go. After all, the root is also part of the leaf. Although controlled by Danzo, Third Generation still believes that Danzo will not do this kind of thing to him in the village. Of course, just to be on the safe side, we still have to bring enough Anbu members. If Danzo really had a conspiracy, with these Anbu members around, Danzo would not be able to catch them all at once, and third generation would be able to take the opportunity to escape. Take me there quickly. After figuring it out, third generation didn't have any hesitation. Soon, under the leadership of Aburame Togen, Hayo came to the mysterious root headquarters. This place, even the third generation rarely visits. But this time, the third generation was deeply shocked. Not because of the environment at root headquarters, but because of Danzo who appeared in front of him. Danzo. What's wrong with you? The third generation shouted in shock, and stepped forward to reach out to help his old friend, but he dared not put his hand on it. At this time, Danzo's body was full of burn marks, the ground was covered with used bandages, emitting an unpleasant smell, and the bloodline was covered with dried up and discolored. All of Danzo's original bandages were gone, revealing his unusual right arm, which was covered with one Sharingan after another. But these eyes all have burn marks, and each one reveals a lifeless look, as if they are blind. Also in Danzo's right eye, there is another Sharingan, which looks even more miserable than the Sharingan on Danzo's arm. It has completely lost its function as an eye, and half of its face is covered with very serious burn marks. At this moment, Danzo slumped on his chair, without moving for a long time, as if he was dead. Hearing the voice of third generation, Danzo struggled to open his good left eye, but the blurred vision could not let him see clearly who was in front of him. Hiruzen? Is that you? Danzo's voice became muffled. What's wrong with me? I cannot see you. Third generation looked at Danzo's miserable appearance, opened his mouth, but couldn't speak. Although, Danzo once assassinated him, but thinking of the comradeship at the beginning, third generation didn't go into it. Seeing Danzo's misery at this time, I even feel a little sad in my heart. So what happened? Third generation turned to look at Aburame. As Danzo's confidant, Aburame must know what's going on here. This. Aburame's scalp tingled, he really didn't know what happened to Danzo. For a long time, Danzo has been secretly using Naruto's taught method to improve his pupil power by himself. Even the root people have not seen the process of Danzo operation. If it wasn't for Danzo's sudden absence for a long time, which made the root members very confused. They might not find out until Danzo dies here. Never mind. Third generation snorted coldly. It's useless to say these things now, you send Danzo to Konoha Hospital as soon as possible, his injuries must be treated as soon as possible. Yes. Aburame took the root and answered immediately, and then, together with several root members, sent Danzo to Konoha Hospital as quickly as possible. Third generation did not leave directly, but searched for information here. A bloody diary was quickly found. Is Danzo's date. Looking at the contents, third generation understood what Danzo had been doing all this time. Third generation also had a sudden feeling. It turns out that his condition has been very poor recently, because of this ridiculous thing. Perhaps it was clear to the viewers, third generation knew that the group had been fooled after watching for a while. After all, the lake near the Uchiha residence is not the holy lake of the Uchiha clan at all. That lake already exists. Moreover, the Uchiha family used to live in the village, and they were driven out of the village in recent years. Things that can be understood with a little thought, third generation can't understand why Danzo is so obsessed. But no matter how things happened, looking at Danzo like that, third generation knew that Danzo was dead. Also, those Sharingans owned by Danzo are also a problem. Pure Sharingan. The third generation was startled, and immediately rushed out of the root headquarters. How could I be so careless? If Uchiha's people see the Sharingan on Danzo, things will get worse. Third generation rushed towards Konoha Hospital as fast as possible. Still he was slow. When the third generation arrived, several ninjas at the root had been subdued, and Danzo's headless corpse fell to the ground. The head with two eyes open was held by a big hand. When he saw the third generation coming, the owner of the big hand turned around, and it was Uchiha Fugaku. Third generation's heart sank immediately. He knew that things couldn't be better. Fugaku asked, Master Hokage, do you know about this? Fugaku raised Danzo's head and asked third generation. I just found out today. Third generation shook his head slowly, and said in a heavy tone. But no matter what, Danzo is the elder of the village, you kill him in the street like this. And do you know whose eye is in his right eye? Fugaku interrupted third generation's words, his face neither sad nor happy. Third generation shook his head slowly, but with a thought in his heart, he thought of a possibility. Fugaku quickly confirmed the possibility that third generation had in mind. This is Shisui's eye. In other words, Shisui was killed by you. Third generation said immediately. I don't know about this, Danzo did the whole thing. Fugaku smiled sarcastically. Whether you know it or not, we all know it. But that's all for now, I will protect Konoha's rear for Naruto. After everything has been evaluated, let's calculate what happened today. After finishing speaking, Fugaku turned around and left with a large group of guards, not showing any face to the third generation who is Hokage. Third generation's shoulders suddenly drooped. Looking at Danzo's headless corpse, third generation spoke slowly after a long silence. Hold Danzo's body and bury it. Although he has done many wrong things, he was also the one who gave everything for Konoha. Several Anbu appeared and gathered Danzo's body. A generation of darkness in the ninja world ended sadly in his own village. At this moment, third generation really felt that he was really old. Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura who got the news arrived belatedly. All they saw was Danzo's restrained body, and Danzo standing still in the middle of the road. What's going on? Who dares to do such a thing in Konoha? Udatane Kaharu questioned angrily. Up to now, the murderer who cut off her arm has not been caught, which made her more angry. Seeing that his former friend was killed at this moment, Udatane Kaharu's anger could no longer be suppressed. Mitokado Homura also looked gloomy. Backquote. This matter cannot be left alone, no matter who did it, he needs to pay the price. Otherwise, our Konoha's face will be completely lost. That kind of thing has long since disappeared. Third generation sighed and shook his head, then turned to look at his two old friends. Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura were startled when they saw third generation's face. Third generation seemed to be 20 or 30 years old suddenly, and even his eyes became cloudy. Like a dying old man. Don't pursue this matter anymore. Third generation passed two friends and walked towards his home. Now Konoha no longer needs us. Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura looked at each other, completely confused about what was going on. But after all, a high-level member of Konoha died. If that's the case, will they die on the street someday? This matter is absolutely not allowed for the two of them. Therefore, they did not listen to third generation's advice and wanted to continue the investigation. But when it was found out that it was Uchiha, the two had no choice but to die. After all, even third generation can't afford to mess with Uchiha right now, let alone them. And what was Fugaku thinking about doing all this? Only surprise. Surprised. I didn't expect that turned out to be exactly what Naruto said. Fugaku, who gathered the Uchiha tribe at Nanga Shrine, said in awe. Naruto told me before that we must always send someone to keep an eye on Konoha Hospital. If one day Danzo is sent over, go and intercept him immediately. At that time, some puzzles in our hearts will be clear at a glance. After a pause, Fugaku said with emotion. The incomprehension is solved, but how to solve the burning anger in my heart? As soon as these words came out, it was like a stone shaking up 1,000 waves. The originally quiet shrine suddenly boiled. There is no good thing in the high-level Konoha. They've been trying to wipe us out. That traitor Itachi must be their chess piece. Absolutely can't just let it go. Patriarch, let's just go against each other. Yes, that's right. We directly reversed. With our strength, who is our opponent? Shut up. Fugaku yelled angrily, shutting everyone's mouths. Don't forget who was able to know the truth at the beginning. Naruto is fighting on the front line, and you are going to cause trouble for Naruto? Don't forget who is with us, so we must not let Naruto down. This matter, after Naruto calms down the entire ninja world, he will naturally give us justice. Naruto naturally didn't know what happened to Konoha. But even if he knew it, he would only smile knowingly. From Naruto's explanation that Fugaku was staying at Konoha Hospital, we knew that Naruto had expected the current result a long time ago. In fact, when Naruto tricked Danzo and revealed to Danzo a false method of improving pupil power, he had already anticipated the current situation. But what surprised Naruto was that Danzo lasted so long. It should be said that he is indeed the leader of the root, and he still has some background. If it is a normal person, I am afraid that it will collapse even if it cannot support it on the first day. What is Naruto doing at this time? He's drawing a lottery. A long time has passed since the last lottery draw. Mainly Naruto has no sense of urgency. Without self-effacing, Naruto now feels a little invincible. Even if Uchiha Madara really resurrected and appeared in front of him, Naruto felt that he was capable. Of course, just think about it. Naruto was still calm and didn't become bloated. So now I'm thinking about using the involution value accumulated by the system. After all, there is no need for nothing. While heading to the land of water, Naruto gave instructions to the system directly in his mind. System, award. A huge roulette appeared, blocking Naruto's view. But it doesn't matter, with observation hockey in his body, even with his eyes closed, Naruto will not crash into the tree. The turntable spins rapidly. 3 seconds later. The turntable stopped abruptly. Advanced wood style. The same wood style escape technique as Senju Hashirama, with the same wood style power and tyrannical vitality as Senju Hashirama. Naruto frowned, a little surprised. I didn't expect this reward to appear. At the beginning, Naruto was able to rely on the army of clones to start involuntarily. In addition to his own Uzumaki clan system, he had the recovery ability of primary wood style. Now with advanced wood style, which is comparable to Senju Hashirama, there are more things that seem to be operable. Naruto thought of a good idea, and a faint smile appeared on his face. What are you laughing at? Sasuke noticed Naruto's smile, felt a little strange, and couldn't help asking. Everyone was on their way, but you suddenly laughed, what the hell? It's just too weird, Naruto said calmly. I was wondering who Lingyan would send over to stop us. Hearing the sound of the conversation between the two, Shikamaru chased after him and asked. We will definitely send a lot of elites. After all, Mizukage has seen the strength of you and Sasuke. It doesn't make any sense for ordinary ninjas to face you. Then, Shikamaru said with some concern. I'm more worried about Xiao Li now. His personality definitely can't be hidden in front of Mist Shinobi's masters. If he is found, Neji said flatly. Don't worry, Li is not someone who is easily defeated. As Xiao Li's teammate during the Chunin exam, Neji's evaluation is naturally very pertinent. Naruto smiled and said, no matter what, as long as it is in front of us, we will all be defeated. It's very simple. Hearing this, Yin and others couldn't help curling their lips. Do you think everyone is as strong as you? Although our current strength is the same as that of elite Jonin, we are still far behind you and Sasuke, okay? It's not like everyone just transforms after a disagreement like you two. Thinking of the scene where Naruto and Sasuke turned into giants with hundreds of meters to fight, Shikamaru and others still had a deep shock in their hearts. That kind of combat power is very different from that of ordinary ninjas. I saw someone. At this time, Hinata, who was in charge of security, said suddenly. It's Lee Jun, he is fighting the enemy, then speed up. Naruto laughed, picking up speed suddenly. The others were left behind in an instant. Sasuke's eyes were fixed, and he immediately chased after him. The others couldn't help but also started to speed up. Soon, with their speed, the distance of several kilometers was almost reached in an instant. But after arriving on the battlefield, no one stayed to intervene. Because Xiao Li didn't lose the wind when faced with the siege of more than a dozen people from the Mist Shinobi assassination team, but took the upper hand. Seeing this situation, everyone is not in a hurry. As I said, the minister's strength is not weak. Neji said flatly. Okay, I see. Shikamaru stared at the dead fish eyes and said nonchalantly. Looking at the teeth from the side, his teeth were itchy, and he couldn't help but said. Can I go up and help? Shino pushed the sunglasses and said. I advise you not to. Xiao Li didn't participate in Tang Zhiguo's actions before, so he must be a little unhappy. Now that he is fighting heartily, we'd better not disturb his interest. Fang's complexion suddenly collapsed, and even Akamaru on top of his head became wilted. He looked unhappy, although I also hope that he can enjoy himself. Naruto said with a smile. But we are in a hurry now, and there are still many battles ahead. Oh. Sasuke curled his lips, and his figure flashed. When it reappeared, I didn't know when I had already held several extremely thin iron wires in my hand. With a strong pull, all members of the Mist Shinobi assassination team are bound directly. Xiao Li lost his opponent all of a sudden, and couldn't help but froze in place. It was Xiao Li who found out that Naruto and the others had arrived. Are you here? Xiao Li was extremely surprised, but soon complained. What's interrupting my fight? I don't need help. You are too slow. Neji came up and said. We are in a hurry and there are still many battles ahead. These are just appetizers. Hearing this, Xiao Li gave up his plan to lose his temper. Naruto said to Sasuke. Get rid of them, and let's move on. It's best to settle the Kirigakure matter within today. Saying that, Rima rushed out first. The others looked at each other, feeling that it would be troublesome to solve Kirigakure within a day. But Naruto has rushed out, and they can only keep up. Hateful. Sasuke cursed secretly, pulled the wire hard, and directly strangled the necks of all the assassination troops. Then he followed. Sasuke was very upset about Naruto calling him, but had to obey. Who made him lose before? Sasuke had to bear the fate of the loser until he defeated Naruto. Naruto, now that the sun is setting, I'm afraid we don't have much time left to reach Kirigakure. Shikamaru said. It may not be realistic to solve Kirigakure today. You think so? Naruto said with a smile. But I think it's okay. Shikamaru asked curiously. How to do it? Just look at it. Naruto smiled mysteriously, but didn't say the answer. Shikamaru and others were puzzled. But no matter how I asked, Naruto just showed 10 mysterious smiles. Soon, Kirigakure's block appeared again. This time there were many more people than before. There are hundreds of people. These people can be said to be the entire elite of Kirigakure. They leave it to you. Naruto folded his hands on his chest, not intending to make a move at all. The same is true for Sasuke on the side, who obviously has no interest in such an opponent. Shikamaru et al. Scalp tingling. Facing hundreds of Jonin and special Jonin level opponents made Shikamaru and others feel very tricky. But with Naruto watching from behind, they felt the power flowing from their bodies. Make them feel fearless. Yahoo! Xiao Li was the first to rush out. He didn't enjoy the previous battle at all, and was interrupted by Sasuke. Someone took the lead, and others immediately followed. At this time, Hinata realized something was wrong. Neji, big brother, that man has supercilious eyes. Hearing this, Neji rolled his eyes immediately. Decisively saw the white eyes on a person's face. And that person is not from the Hyuga family. This person cannot stay. Neji immediately made a judgment and walked straight towards the opponent. Kirigakure is the only one with white eyes. That is Mist Shinobi Jonin? Ching's white eyes are very precious white eyes that have not been destroyed by the caged bird, so they attach great importance to the protection of white eyes. Konoha has carried out many assassinations against him, but none of them succeeded. Zheng Qing was also the one who fought Shisui and escaped with his life by a narrow margin. Also a person with good strength. Don't underestimate them, they are very powerful. Ao with supercilious eyes immediately saw Shikamaru and the others' inner fierceness, which was different from their appearance. Seeing the extremely smooth flow of chakra in their bodies, the already huge amount of chakra, Qing fell into deep shock. Judging from chakra alone, these boys are stronger than all of them in Kirigakure. However, they have a numerical advantage and have rich combat experience. These teenagers have power, but I'm afraid they won't be able to display their full strength. However, the moment the two sides just took over, they immediately dismissed the idea just now. These little bastards. So fierce. In just one meeting, they lost 10 people on their side. This is not the genin of cannon fodder, but the essence of Kirigakure. The Mist Shinobi present is either a Jonin, or a special Jonin with a skill. As a result, he was brutally abused by the boy on the opposite side. Qing didn't expect this result at all, but now he has no time to care about him. Because Neji and Hinata approached Ao directly. Two real supercilious users, dealing with a counterfeit supercilious, the result is self-evident. What's more, the strength of Neji and Hinata is far superior to Qing. After barely fighting for a few times, Qing was beaten into a ball of rags by the 512 palms of the two. The strong hostility in Neji's body gradually disappeared after stomping Qing's head and destroying the white eyes in Qing's eyes. It's really boring. Standing on a high place, watching the one-sided battle under his feet, Sasuke made his own speech. Don't say that. Naruto smiled and said. What is yours will come shortly afterward. I believe you will have a good time. Sasuke frowned slightly and looked at Naruto. What do you know? Naruto said with a smile. I do not know anything. What? When Obito heard the voice of the report, his eyes widened in surprise. But he refrained from making a sound, after all he was still hiding in the dark. The people of Mist Shinobi don't know that their Mizukage has been completely controlled by Obito. I didn't expect hundreds of Jonin to stop Naruto's footsteps. Obito rolled his eyes. It seems that we can only send out the last weapon. Under the control of Obito, Yagura, who seemed very calm even after hearing such horrifying news, said slowly. Well, I see. Let's go down. Anbu, who was reporting, looked at Yagura suspiciously. and instinctively felt that there was something wrong with the doctor's attitude. But the other party was Mizukage after all, and it was not his turn to question a little shadow. And everyone knows that Mizukage's temper has become moody recently, so naturally he dare not provoke Yagura casually, lest he get killed. After Anbu went down, Ku immediately came out from the invisible. Mizukage's eyes immediately became dull. Let me see if Three Tails can stop them. Go. Kill Uzumaki Naruto them. He gave the order to kill Yagura, and Obito watched Yagura get up with leisure, and then broke out of the directly through the window. The movement of the broken window naturally attracted the attention of many people. They saw Yagura himself heading towards the battle without any cheers. Under Obito's control, Yagura's control over Kirigakure has dropped to freezing point. If the villagers were not hindered by Yagura's strength, they would have turned against each other long ago. It's as if the original Yagura was reversed from third Mizukage. Through Yagura's eyes, Obito quickly sees the situation of the battle. Then, Obito's eyes popped and almost popped out of their sockets. What happened? It wasn't Naruto and Sasuke who moved. Yagura rushed to the battle site, only to find that Shikamaru was the only one fighting, and Naruto and Sasuke were watching with ease. When Yagura, who was controlled by Obito, arrived, the battle was almost over. Didn't it mean that the people I sent were defeated? The defeat so quickly, I thought it was Naruto. In the end, you can't beat a few brats. This is too outrageous. Obito couldn't believe this situation. Facing hundreds of Jonin, even people from the Akatsuki organization, it would be very difficult to do without pain. As a result, Konoha's little ghosts defeated Kirigakure's elite troops. This is too nonsense. But whether Obito believes it or not, that's the way it is now. The facts were right in front of him. Seeing Yagura coming, Naruto raised his eyebrows at Sasuke and said, "Look, your opponent is out." Sasuke looked at Naruto suspiciously. It was obvious that Naruto had anticipated the current situation. This made Sasuke very suspicious, but he didn't know what to doubt Naruto. Could it be that there is a dark thread of Naruto in Kirigakure? How can it be? Sasuke dispelled the doubt immediately. After all, Naruto hadn't received any messages before. So how on earth did Naruto know? I'm afraid no matter how Sasuke thinks, he can't think of the correct answer. Because Naruto knows that the real controller of Kirigakure is Obito hiding in the dark. So Naruto can easily deduce that the Belt King who knows they are coming will definitely send someone to intercept them. Once the elite troops lose, Obito will definitely send Yagura to come. If the situation forces, Obito will definitely run away. Naruto guessed exactly what Obito was thinking. Because Obito is such a guy who hides his head and shows his tail. This guy, I'll leave it to you, Naruto said, pointing to Yagura. He is the current Mizukage and also the Three Tails Jinchuriki. Although he is not a perfect Jinchuriki, he is still very strong. At the beginning, it relied on a coup to snatch the position of third Mizukage and became fourth Mizukage. Don't be careless. HMPH, if you can defeat the tailed beast, so can I. Sasuke snorted disdainfully, and appeared in front of Shikamaru and the others in a flash, facing Yagura. Don't waste time, hurry up and use your holy calendar. I don't want to waste too much time on a character like you. Yagura, however, is quite taciturn. The main reason is that Obito is too far away to be controlled precisely. Only simple orders can be given, for example, fighting. For a moment, Yagura's eyes froze and he rushed over. Sasuke frowned, feeling a strange breath from the other party. In the face of Yagura's attack, Sasuke did not directly counterattack, but chose to dodge first. Sasuke wanted to figure out what was going on with that weird breath. Soon, Sasuke saw the clue through Yagura's seemingly sharp but empty eyes. It turned out to be a puppet. Sasuke is a little interested. To be able to use the shadow of a village as a puppet, I don't know who is hiding behind the scenes. If it's a fight with that guy, it should be fun. Aware of this, Sasuke also played some nature. Facing Yagura's attack this time, Sasuke didn't dodge, and charged directly head-on. Boom. Citrus Yagura flew upside down like a cannonball, and smashed heavily into the ground. But soon, there was a roar of a beast. A blood-red figure rushed out extremely fast. That is. Sasuke looked in amazement, he had never seen such a completely monster-like shape. That's a half-tailed beast, and the objective strength will be greatly improved. Naruto explains Sasuke's posture. Be careful of the opponent's moves. Naruto remembers that Yagura has a move that is used in the state of a tailed beast, which is extremely destructive to the body. So a simple reminder. HMPH, he can't hit me. Sasuke said dissatisfiedly, and avoided the attack of Goju Yaeshi sideways. Afterwards, both hands formed seals quickly, and then spit out a huge fireball from the mouth. Fire-style Great Fireball technique. The Great Fireball with a diameter of tens of meters smashed and burned the trees as if they were destroyed. The originally humid environment suddenly became a little dry. It can be seen how powerful Sasuke's move is. Being hit head-on by this move didn't do much damage to Goju Ya. In the case of a tailed beast, Jinchuriki's abilities in all aspects will be greatly improved, and its self-healing ability is extremely strong. Ordinary ninjutsu can't do harm to the Jinchuriki that has turned into a beast. Seeing that Yugura continued to charge forward without any abnormality, Sasuke frowned slightly. Since Kamen's flame doesn't work, give this a try. A Rasengan quickly appeared in Sasuke's hand, and under his control, a layer of black flame appeared, covering the surface of the Rasengan, dyeing the color of the Rasengan into black. Black flame Rasengan. Boom. Hiss. The citrus Yugura who was hit was immediately covered by scorching black flames, and let out a scream that was so shrill that it didn't sound like a human voice. Shikamaru looked at them with tingling scalp, and couldn't help but backed away a little. Is this Jinchuriki? It always feels different from Sanagakure's Gaara and Naruto. This is a monster, right? I always feel irrational. It's terrible if we face this kind of monster. Although it is not impossible to win, I always feel helpless. Well, if you encounter Jinchuriki in the future, you must not fight alone. That is not an opponent that we can deal with alone. I'm afraid only Naruto and Sasuke can face this monster so easily. With the last exclamation, Shikamaru and the others looked at Sasuke gradually becoming complicated. Everyone started from the same starting point, but at this point, Sasuke sneaked away without making a sound. And fell so far behind them. Let them catch up even if they want to catch up. After all, Sasuke, a guy who practiced desperately, would never give them a chance to catch up. Sasuke looked down at Yugura, who was crying in pain on the ground, without any pity in his eyes. Because Sasuke knew that the guy who controlled Yugura used very rough methods. Even if the control over Yugura is lifted, Yugura has lost her personality and the ability to think independently. That said, Goju Yugura has turned into an idiot. The dignified generation of Mizukage has fallen to this point. Sasuke thinks, might as well die. He believes that Yugura thinks so too. The unquenchable black flame is still burning. But the state of Yugura began to change. A gigantic chakra emerged from his body, forming a chakra smock. The chakra gown keeps the black inflammation out, and the body shape of the citrus Yugura is also colliding rapidly, and the appearance is also changing rapidly. Soon, a behemoth appeared in front of everyone. Is this the tailed beast? Shikamaru looked up at the tortoise-like three tails with wonder in his eyes. It's really big, but compared with Naruto and Sasuke, it looks a bit small. Teeth nodded and said, if I hadn't seen the transformation of Naruto and Sasuke, I would definitely tremble with fear when I saw such a big monster. But looking at it now, I just think it's big. Shino said lightly. Maybe it's because our strength has become stronger, so the way we look at things has also changed. Xiao Li asked curiously. Do you think Sasuke will transform the previous Titan? I really want to keep watching. Won't. Naruto said with a smile. Since I didn't use 9 tails mode when I beat one tail, Sasuke definitely wouldn't be using Suzunohe. It's really a shame. Shikamaru pouted. There is always a speechless persistence in an inexplicable place.